Welcome to the September 2023 workshop, Village of Buchanan workshop meeting. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a lot to discuss this evening. But first, we are going to put up our planner, Dave Smith, to discuss the rezoning of the M2 district and the Point property. So Dave would like to give everyone an overview of what we're looking at here.
Sure. Good evening. Just to remind the board, my office, had prepared a scope of work for the M2 district. Believe it or not, it was back in September of 2020, and it's amazing how time flies. But in the interim, and as part of that, there were a series of tasks that were identified: creation of a vision statement, setting the rezoning boundary, drafting of the proposed zoning text. This type of zoning would require an update to the village's comprehensive plan, an environmental review, and then there were a series of meetings and public hearings as part of the proposal. So that proposal was approved by the board. We had initiated work, including field visits. Marcus and I went to the site, the Holtec site, the Point site. It also included back in July of 2022, we had submitted a fairly comprehensive memo to your board. I think I provided that as part of the recent email to your board in advance of this meeting. And as part of that, we had begun drafting a vision statement for the proposed zoning text amendments, and that reflected I think some of the discussion that we had with your board, and also you're currently in the process of preparing your LWRP, that's the local waterfront revitalization program. So the vision statement was approximately 4 paragraphs long, and it included a number of things about providing an opportunity for the public to get down to the river, including positive development and revitalization of the waterfront area, that the zoning would encourage an economic stimulus and revitalization of the village and its Hudson River waterfront. Talks about design standards for future development. And we had provided a series of graphics which refer to the different elements of the M2 district. And I think, at that time, as you recall, and I think based on our last discussion, there was some issue about whether the certainty property would be included to that. So that, while we went through where we were at that point, it was kind of put on hold a little bit to figure out, how that property may or may not be included in the district. I think that was part of the issue of why it's taken a little bit of time to get to this point. But as part of the July review memo, we had included some general review of development criteria. And I think from the discussions that the village has had, and particularly as part of the LWRP, there was a lot of discussion about having a mixed use component, residential, commercial, similar to what you would see in a number of the Hudson River communities that have redeveloping their waterfront. If you look at examples like Tarrytown or Sleepy Hollow, Sleepy Hollow happens to be one of my clients, where they're redeveloping a former manufacturing plant, the GM site. I think those were some of the things, I think that the vision that the community had. And so that was kind of reflected in the development criteria. And those would get reflected eventually in the zoning that gets crafted for the M2 district. And then we talked about different types of uses, hotels, conference centers. Obviously, I would think because it's directly accessible to the Hudson River, you would want to have things like marinas, things that are maritime related, ferry boats, charter boats, those types of things. We talked about required open space, and this I think is important because the Hudson River is such a critical resource, is that there be some set aside for the Hudson River, the kind of the banks of the Hudson River itself, that be made available to the public as part of any redevelopment proposal. Understanding that this is probably a very long-term condition, given the what the site is currently going through, and I think you described it. Excuse me, last time we met, that there are issues now with New York State and limitations on how that site is decommissioned. We talked about a procedural review, and this is something that we've used in other communities and other processes like this, where it's a two-step process. The first would be that the village board kind of similar to what you did most recently with the AMS project, where the village board would act as the kind of the lead agency for the environmental review and approving a conceptual site plan. And so that becomes kind of the basis for entitlements for that property. And then the next step would be to get a specific site plan approval. So it allows for the developer to kind of go through the environmental review process without getting into all the level of details, the site plan details. And this is a fairly efficient process for communities to go through because it allows them to evaluate the potential environmental impacts of the project, talk about mitigation, and then to get some entitlements for a potential project as it moves forward. We talked a little bit about density, and I think that's probably one of the discussions that we'll get to once we have a draft of the zoning put in place for consideration. As part of the July memo, we had approximately 170 acres out of that M2 district that are kind of like a ballpark figure that are developable. And if you start to apply some of the density figures within your own zoning district, for instance, with the C1, C2 overlay, you start to get to some theoretical development yields. And for that purpose, it's just conceptual only. With the 170 acres at 8 units per acre, it's approximately 1,360 units. So again, that's something that we all need to think about. You need to have a comfort level. And the other issue too is, for example, in Sleepy Hollow, they have a much higher threshold. They had 20 units per acre, and there was an understanding that as part of the redevelopment of that site, significant capital would be needed in order to clean up the site and then prepare it for development and get all the infrastructure in place. And so that you needed to have a fairly dense development program that would entice the developer to say, yes, it's worth my while to make that investment in this particular site. Now, the development density on the GM site didn't turn out to be 20 units per acre, it was something less than that. I don't have the exact figure, but that's kind of the concept. That you want to make sure that you've got a fairly dense development program that would entice and make it economically viable for a future developer to redevelop the site. So that's kind of where we left off with the process. I think the next step that we are contemplating is actually starting the drafting of the proposed zoning text. And I think that's really, Marcus had indicated you want to have to kind of restart that process. Well, that's kind of where we left off. The next step would really be to begin preparing some draft language for you to consider as a board and for the village in its entirety.
And you did mention a master plan. Can we do this parallel?
Yes, you could do it parallel. My thought was that this could actually proceed kind of separately. It would almost be like a separate chapter for the comprehensive plan. And if the village decides to move forward with updating its comprehensive plan, they could kind of parallel each other, but they don't necessarily have to be entwined or enjoined as part of the same process.
So we would have to, I think, as we go forward, we have to have these meetings. They should be separate meetings, other than what we're doing, the 2 board meetings a month. So it should be,
I would suggest you probably do that, simply because the topic is, you're getting into a fair bit of detail,
mm,
and at some point, you'll want to have some public input as part of this, whether that's a formal public hearing or whether it's just a public meeting in which you make a presentation, they make a presentation and have the public provide input. It's really up to your board if you'd like to think about it.
so should we form a committee also, not only with the whole board, but should there be other residents that should be included in a committee for this? Or would you prefer, from your experience, what have other communities done?
Well, for something like this, it's fairly discreet because you're looking at just the M2 district.
Okay.
My suggestion would be that your board, because you're the legislative authority, you're the only board that can approve zoning amendments, is that you would retain that role. But because you have other boards, affiliated boards that could provide some advice and guidance, like your zoning board and your planning board, is to include them in the process, forward the materials to them, have them discuss it in a separate session, or you would have a joint session with all 3 boards if you want to, and get input that way.
Mhm. So, and then one of the big discussions is what to do with the certainty property, because you're right, that's where we kind of got into a situation like we were a little.
Yeah.
We went on hold, and then there's so many other things going on also, so. So this is something the board has discussed, not sure when that property is going to become available. But to plan for the future and start looking at that. So what would the board like to go forward with Dave's plan with the rezoning and looking at that M2 zoning?
Yeah, I would. I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
I don't think we need, I do think we need the support of the community. After the fact, like you said, I believe that we should keep it in-house until then. Yeah, I think we should move forward with it.
And so we have to have a separate meeting. You would have to let us know what your availability is.
Yes, of course.
Monday evenings, perhaps. I don't know. It's, you would have to come back to us and let us know,
Yeah, I'll
so
work
that we
with-
can start the
With staff
process.
on finding the right time.
Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, I would like to move forward with it too. I know a while back we discussed when this was brought up, we discussed Terrytown and Sleepy Hollow. And we were originally tossing the idea around of the board going down there as a group and looking at what they have done with their waterfront property. And I think we should reach out to both of those municipalities and see if we can arrange for, maybe a meeting of the minds, just to go down, see what they've done there, get some ideas, kick those around.
Yeah, if you'd like, I mean, obviously, I can work through Marcus or whoever, but I can put you in touch with, the folks, not only with Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown, but the developers of the General Motors site. They've got a trailer right there. They'd be happy to, give you a tour of what they've been doing. It's actually pretty spectacular.
I think that would be, a good idea.
Now, I'm happy to hear that you're involved in the Sleepy Hollow project, so you have some experience with what we're looking to do.
I know I don't look it, but I've been working there since 1997.
Oh, boy.
On that site. So,
No, and you don't look it, yes. All right, good. No, I think that would be great. So that's a good idea, Dan. I think, to set something up to see, instead of reinventing the wheel. And to talk to somebody that's actually done this before. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I've been down there, I've seen it, but I haven't seen it up close per se. But it's a work in progress, but it is what they've done there is nicely done.
It is, yeah. And part of that, there was a lot of commitment by the community in when they were drafting that the zoning text. And they were pretty specific about certain things like access to the water, like design, competent design, buildings, things like that.
All right, sounds like a game plan. So we'll get that started.
Very good.
All right, thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Anybody else have any other questions for Dave?
Yes,
Oh,
Teresa,
sorry.
Mayor?
Yep,
Oh, no
hi.
problem. I'm here. I definitely think we should move forward with this. I know it's been a while since you first brought it up, and I think it's time to move on. And I also think that, just to put it out there that, are you there?
Yep, we hear you, Bob. You're good.
My video just went funky. I think that we should also seriously consider having certainty be part of this zoning change also. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, just so the board knows, and I had mentioned this at the time. At one point, Marcus and I had met with representatives of Certainty, just to let them know we're initiating this process, and they'll be part of it, obviously, as it goes forward. So they will be a part of the input.
I'm sorry, Bob, I forgot to announce that you're on Zoom. So trustee Wheeler is on Zoom this evening.
No problem.
David, one more question. The 170 acres, is that inclusive of the Certainty property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The actual project is on the entire 365.
Correct. In other words, when I was looking at the site in its entirety, you kind of broke it, and there's a presentation.
They have it.
They have it. Okay, you'll see there are areas that have steep slopes, that have wetlands, that have other. There's the gas pipelines that come
Right.
across the site and the transmission lines. So we tried to take out those
What's not
areas
usable.
that are not really developable.
Yeah.
And so what's left is approximately 100. It's ballpark. You could probably squeeze more in, but I wanted to be conservative in that analysis. So that's kind of how we got to some of those numbers.
Okay.
Got it started at least.
And one other question. In comparison to the project that went in where the GM plant was, what's the size that we're looking at compared to that?
So the GM site was, there's actually two pieces. There's approximately, let's say 63 acres on the west side of the Metro North rail line. And then there's approximately 30 acres on the east side. So in total, it's approximately 90 acres. Essentially what happened was that the east side was eventually given to the village because it really wasn't developable for residential. And the village is actually now relocating its DPW off of the Hudson River to the part of east parcel. So the village got a fairly substantial piece of property as part of that development. And in essence, what happened was that the density was transferred from the east parcel over to the west parcel. And again, that's how, they make it economically viable for the redevelopment of that site.
Gotcha.
Great, thank you.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, I'll be in touch.
All right, next, we're going to discuss the village hall boiler replacement. And we have with us this evening, we have our engineer, George Palmer, and I think Mr. Venegas.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. All right, thanks, Dave. Have a good night.
Thank you.
So Edison, want to give the board a little update on the public of what the process we went through and where we are now and what your recommendation would be, and then see if the board or the public has any questions.
Okay, no problem. All right, so we went out to bid for the second time, and we got a couple of we set up the project with a couple of alternatives. The base bid was to replace. Right now, you have one oil fire boiler with a 3,000 gallon underground tank. The base bid was to replace the oil boiler with two high efficiency gas fired boilers and removal of the oil tank. That was the base bid. Then we had alternate one, which was to replace the boiler with, in kind, with gas, but make it gas. Get rid of the oil and switch it to gas with a dual fuel burner. Alternate number two was to again replace the boiler with one boiler and have it with dual fuel burner. I apologize. This is the dual fuel. Alternate number one was just gas only, not dual fuel. Okay, and then alternate number three was to one boiler, but keep the oil. Okay, the numbers, came back for the base bid. They came in at 266,000, and that was the lowest bidder. Then the second bidder was 277. So for the base bid, those numbers are, they're competitive, and we believe that those are the right numbers for that particular job, which includes the 266 and the 277 includes the removal of the oil tank as well. And then looking at the other alternatives, I mean, they're all in the same range. If we stay with the lowest bidder, the base bid is 266,000, but that's two boilers. Then alternate number one is 257. Alternate number two is 252. And alternate number three, if we look at the lowest bidder, there is 198,000. And again, that would be to stay with the oil. We feel like just looking at the base bid, where you will end up with two boilers and switching to a natural gas, that is a recommendation that you stay with the base bid, just so you have the backup redundancy and basically remove the oil tank, right? Because right now we don't know the condition of the oil tank. We don't know. I mean, we want to get rid of it underground. We don't want to be dealing with it when it starts leaking. So that's our recommendation to the town, basically.
So your recommendation is to stay with to go to a gas burner, gas furnace, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's more energy efficient also, plus I guess it would burn cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, natural gas compared to oil does burn cleaner, and they are more efficient compared to oil, and the biggest thing is that you remove the oil tank as well.
I think anything at this point would be more energy efficient and cleaner burning than what we have.
Right. I mean, and the biggest also, the base bid, right now you have one large boiler, which is sized to run when it's 0 degrees outside. With the base bid, we're getting two boilers. So most of the time, only one boiler will be running because there's only a handful of times when it's 0 degrees outside during the winter. So you're getting a second benefit there because you're running on one boiler, which is less than half the size of the existing. So that's another benefit that you gain. And if one fails, the other boiler is there, as a backup. So that's an additional advantages of having two boilers.
The board have any questions for Mr. Venegas?
On the base bid itself, that includes all excavation and all the gas hookup for the boiler into the building, the port of entry and everything?
No, it does not include the point of entry. All the work here includes from the gas meter into the boiler.
So Con Ed's gonna install that, or we have to sub out the
No, Con Ed's gonna put all the piping in, and we just have to contract out for the trenching. I think the trenching was $7,000 for the trenching, and Con Ed's gonna run the line from the tap to the building.
and they're gonna hang the meter?
Yes. I got a price from that, and that was a while back. Yes,
Okay. So we're just on the hook for the excavation,
that's correct.
and it was bid on their specs?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Edison, but you might want to spring that you went back and forth with Con Edison for a while, so you might want to tell the public that you went through that process with Con Edison.
Yeah, I mean, we had to deal with the whole online with Con Edison dealing with the gas, but I mean, they gave everything's up to their spec. We went out, we got a couple of numbers, and was a very reasonable number from them, very low number from Con Edison, which was surprising. So,
Yeah, because look at all the gas you're gonna burn down.
all right.
Why wouldn't it be? Is it a 2-inch service coming in? What size is the service?
The main, I think it's 1 inch. You have high pressure over there. So,
Right.
but once you go into the boiler room, it's 2 inch because we have low pressure coming into the building.
And I think we have to tap out there already.
The tap, yeah.
Yeah, so when the road work, they tap in so that we don't have to repave the
Yeah.
road, so they did us a favor by putting that in, so it was good.
And they didn't charge you anything for that either.
Don't think they didn't charge you.
Well, they charge everybody else.
They'll get their money's worth.
Yeah.
All right.
So the curb valve is out there already?
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we put in a load letter telling them what load we were gonna use
Mhm.
and kind of accepted it. And under the circumstances, since it's a municipality and everything seems to be in line to do an improvement. They put in. So usually they don't do that. but-
Usually though, when you do an upgrade, they had a program, Con Edison, that allowed you
To put a line in for it.
to bring a line in, if you did an upgrade, if you went from oil to gas.
They give you so many feet.
Well, they give you 100 feet from the curb valve. But for a commercial building, they used to supply everything, from what I understand. I'm not sure, I'm not really sure on that, but
Yeah.
it's a certain amount of, linear
Right.
feet.
Right.
I think for residential they give you up to 100 feet, but for commercial they only work to the property line.
I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
The property line is the curb valve.
So if the board is okay, we can put on the agenda to award the bid and we can start the process and I can notify Con Edison and start the work. I don't know, Edison, I don't think the work will be able to be done before the heating season. We'll have to wait for the springtime, right, Edison?
Yeah, this is a springtime job.
Well, at least you can award the bid. We can tell the contractor, notify Con Edison, and we can schedule it. Go ahead.
That'll also give us a chance to use some of the oil. Because they just take the oil when it gets removed. We don't get reimbursed for that. We've got a 3,000 gallon tank out there at the end. We should use as much as we can for the excavate the tank.
And let them know not to use auto fill.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that.
Yeah, thank you.
We've run out of oil before, so.
Yeah.
Right, Cindy?
Yeah, we have to make sure we run out of oil in April.
Yep, exactly. Cindy's in the boiler room trying to turn it on.
Oh, my. Thank you. All right, good.
Oh, Steve?
And then at which point, I know we discussed kind of internally different alternatives on financing this project.
Correct, we can,
Possible
yes.
grants.
And one of the
Okay.
grants, when we get into the grants, we talk about,
Sure.
one of the grants to transfer to that and Hawkins' office says he's agreeable to that, so
Okay.
that reduces our price.
On the agenda.
Correct.
All right.
Thank you, Edison,
That
all
goes
your,
on the agenda.
yeah, Edison, thank you for your patience. It's a long time in coming. and I really appreciate all your time and effort on this.
No problem. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
What do we have for George this evening?
All capital projects, he's one of the list of, all the engineering projects, so.
All right, you know what? We can move the discussion on grants. George is here, so let's have a discussion with George and we'll get back to the grants. Okay, so the board received a list of capital projects and what their amounts are. There's a 5-year capital project plan. And I guess we might as well just go in order here with, the paving, the sidewalks, the general paving programs. Marcus, if you want to go over that.
Sure, as the village puts away $300,000 a year for paving, as we discussed a couple of years, we couldn't do a couple of years of projects, so we actually bid it out and we do a substantial amount of paving this year. But the annual appropriation is $300,000 every year. So what you see in the 5 years, just the $300,000 carrying over. And this year is a big amount of what the work's going to be done. I know George has been working with the paving company in regards to maybe when the paving would start, so where you can update the board and public on that.
Sure, we met with the contractor here for a pre-construction meeting, about 2 weeks ago. We walked the site, we walked all the roads, we marked them all out. and they're actually gonna start next Monday.
Okay.
So, you have to put out your notice,
Monday.
you're ready.
Sorry.
So, but, they're gonna start on Broadway, so that way they can see them coming and we get the worst road first. You know, there's that rut in the road, so
Yeah.
people know they're here, they can anticipate they're coming, and then we can get a schedule, they're going, and then Gallagher, I think Gallagher's gonna be last, in the list, because that's gonna probably take the longest. Unless they have two crews, so, but they didn't tell us, so they had a problem with one of their workers, had an accident over the weekend, an operator and got hurt, so they kind of slowed him down a little bit from getting started, so.
So some of the other project, we have the Village Hall parking lot, we did some crack sealing, so it looks okay, but again, it just not to forget about it, it's on the list. But estimate cost of 250,000, we don't have to do it, but at least we just keep on carrying that over, so that way nobody forgets about that project. George also estimated Lance Cove parking lot about repaving that. Again, it's just an estimated number. I know we have some issues with sunken areas. So the board, if we ever have the money, the board becomes that a priority, we can do it. You have an estimated number there. And George always tries to update that number on a yearly basis. And then I just carried on to this year, and then we go with move forward or backwards, however the board wants to go. On the wastewater treatment plant, there's a whole bunch of different options. It looks like a big number, but the options depend on what project we're moving forward on. We applied for WQIP grant for the full project that we discussed, the replacement of the 2 tanks, the bubble diffusion, all the work they entitled with that. So that's the like $5.6 or $6 million to do that work. So we can update the board on that one.
We asked, we resubmitted WQIP, we had a meeting with the BBC about grants, and they said, yeah, you can update it if you revise the scope. We added some more work to it, so we added the pump station to it, and we added some more concrete work to it, so, and then we updated it for today's prices, and we submitted that in, and I reached out to the DEC, and they'll know what that price is, when they're gonna award those, late November, early December is when they come out with those. So we should know then about how much more money you're gonna get from before, because last time you only got $1 million. So hopefully
One goal was like 1.6.
Right, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm sorry, 1.6. So now hopefully they come back and they give you some more.
Mhm.
So that's the goal. And then we get to do the Albany Post Road pump station as well.
Mhm.
So.
And depending on the grant, the WQRP is a maximum of 80%, 20% match. So when we know what the number is, we know what our match is, and then we can fine tune this number at that point. So that one a holding pattern for that.
Well, the match is supposed to come out of the Entergy money.
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll have that
Mhm.
also.
Correct. So we'll have a total budget hopefully by the end of this year, and we can decide how to move forward. We have a timeline. We can start going out to bid. Proposals, and get that work started.
But yeah, we have a little bit more, so if they accept it, we have a little bit more work to do with the concrete tanks as far as structural engineering and whatnot, and sizing and whatnot. So the DEC and the Department of Health gets involved, and so.
So is there something on this list here, George, that was not included in the grant that we might be able to use with capital funds?
One of the things that included the pump, the roof at the plant.
Mhm.
We got different proposals to replace the roof. So I'm waiting for more proposal. So we can use capital funding for that. So but I'm still waiting for one proposal to come in. That roof is a flat roof. It's leaked. We actually had a roofer to actually fix the leaks for now. But that roof goes, and nobody remembers how old that roof is. It goes back. Cindy, you don't remember the last time that roof was replaced?
No.
Nobody remembers.
So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So as soon as I get I get you a proposal, present it to the board, and we can discuss how we're gonna finance that as well. Mostly everything else, well, the Blakely Avenue pump station control panel, George, we have estimate for $25,000 for that. Is that still, that's not part of the WQRP grant, right?
No, that's not part of
So
it.
that's one of the issues. Well, that's $25,000 for that, Teresa.
What about the gates?
The gates are part of
Mhm.
the grant.
Okay.
So we, at the one meeting, we talked about putting them in and doing them, because the wastewater department said, you know, it'd be great if we got these, but let's include it in the big plan, since we're doing all this concrete work, so. We put that one on.
The pipelining, we're in pretty good shape. We got the ARPA money and we got, another grant from Parkman's office, so we're in pretty good shape with that. And George will continue estimating more projects, so we know more in the future.
Right, so we had the 5-year plan for manholes, we switched over to the pipeline and we had 228 in ARPA money, and we're using that money for the relining. That's gonna start mid-October. They just finished the pre-inspection, so they have to go into all the pipes first. They TV them first, just to see what sizes, to make sure they get the right lining size and the right thickness, and they get the lay of the land, and then they come in and they put the liners in.
Do they spray those liners, or it's actually a sleeve that goes in?
It's a sleeve that goes in.
They put pressure, they
I'd
push
like
it in.
to, I don't know if any other
They put
board members,
steam.
I'd like to
Yeah,
see that.
steam
I think that'd be
activates-
cool to see.
activates
They have a
the.
boiler they bring on, they use steam to shrink it inside the pipe.
And then push it in with a pressure gauge to push it
Yeah, they
through.
just blow it in and then they
And
heat
then-
it up and then the
and it
two
cools
ends
down.
are sealed and they have a vent on the other side and it heats up and it
Cool.
adheres to the inside of the pipe
Right,
and then they
It's
cut
all
it.
sealed.
cool.
Good.
Some of the other projects, the pipeline, we talked about, the micro screening, that's something that, I know that, Todd had brought that up, is a way to put at the pump stations to screen the debris before it gets to our main tank. So I know we've been talking back and forth, as we have the pump station, 1, 2, 3, 4 pump stations. So they talked about it, benefit or negative of trying to move with that, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit.
So, yeah, we have a micro strainer at the sewage treatment plant, and I guess the thought process is to add.
Todd, when you come to the podium, but we might talk, come to the podium so they can hear you and everybody can see you.
Good evening. Todd Travis is our sewer plant operator.
What the microscreen does, it actually separates the inorganics that does not go into a sewer plant. It helps the life of the biological process go. So it takes out all the rags, anything, sanitary wipes, anything that is not supposed to be in there, takes it out, goes through a machine, cleans it, washes it, dries it, and it goes into a hopper and we disperse it municipality through our dumpster. Saves a lot of wear and tear on our pumps. Our pumps today can range between $20,000-$30,000 a pump, depending on what size. We've had numerous issues. It took me 2 days to unclog the brand new pump at the 4th Street pump station. I believe it was almost a form of a mop head.
Yeah.
that we had to get out of
Some
it.
to a mop head.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable.
Oh, besides that, it's a bunch of,
Same person.
yeah, but besides that, it's a bunch of rags that I keep on getting that he's gonna have to clean out of.
It's well worth its money, and being once we hook up with the town, it'd be beneficial, because right now we have no preliminary process of cleaning anything or separation on the Albany Post Road side right now. We just have a bar screen, which the bar screens are maybe 1 or 2, 3 inches apart, and a lot of inorganics flow through that. And unfortunately, it ends up in our plant, and we're manually pulling that out. It's a big job. It's not like it was 20 years
Dirty
ago.
job too,
Yeah.
very dirty job.
It's crazy today. Really, it's crazy today. What people put down the drains. I see it, George, you've seen it. I showed Marcus and the mayor pictures. It's unbelievable. So I'm just trying to minimize damage to our equipment that we have, especially we're gonna be upgrading.
These are 100,000.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
They're just regular steel.
Stainless steel, aluminum, they're heated, they're pre-pipe water, hot water. They're,
This looks like-
well, for the winter.
It's almost like a little robot itself.
It took
does
us,
everything itself.
what we just had one service for the first time, it's been over 10 years. And, nonstop, it does not stop. It's on 24/7. So we got 10 years out of it. Pretty good, removing quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, I remember when that went in and I just couldn't remember how many years ago that
Yeah.
was, 10 years.
Over 10 years.
And that's about the life of them, 10 years,
Well,
or it depends on the usage.
you can keep, replacing parts on it for another 10 years, so it doesn't, you don't have to replace.
I mean, we do maintenance on it all the time, but I mean, it's just like any piece of machinery, never stops running. So the intent is to do one a year? Is that it?
Unless we got a grant or something like that, so I'll put that in there as for budgeting purposes, so we can consider as part of the capital projects or the fund balance or something, start budgeting and as long as it's board priority as well, we can figure out how to finance it. All right, Tosin, you're up there when, you put in the Bobcat, so
Yeah, I
let me
was
talk about,
talking with,
what's the benefits of that, what you need it for, so the board can understand that.
I was having communications with Scott, the highway foreman. Presently, right now, we have a 1992 John Deere backhoe. It's getting really, really tired. We've spent quite a bit of money on maintenance, trying to keep it running back and forth, and highway's been using it quite a bit. It's lost a lot of its power. I use it twice a week to clean the rags off the top aeration mixers, because there's no way you're manually doing that, moving that stuff into the dumpster back and forth. So we were talking, possibly splitting the purchase of the Bobcat, right, Scott? And you were looking into something else, we're looking at that's what we did. So, we need something that I definitely need a bucket with.
Then you talk about a mag meter, Blakely Avenue.
That, yes, that is, right now we have a Foxborough, which is the original.
Yep.
Down there, down on Lakely Avenue. It's almost impossible, that goes along with the panel down there. Can't get parts for it anymore. And can't even get it calibrated. We have an idea by doing the numbers on per pump, how many hours per pump it runs per day, to figure out what the gallon is. With the mag meter, we're gonna know right then and there exactly, and especially once we get hooked up to the town, we're gonna need that. We're definitely gonna need that, because right now, we're close, but we're not 100% what the actual flow is coming into that pit in there. That's a Blakely Avenue pump station.
So you said that's an original, so that's
That's original.
1962,
That's original and-
63.
Oh.
That one had an upgrade.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Maybe.
all right,
Yeah.
all right, but still, 30
It's
years,
still 30 years
Yeah.
old.
yeah,
For electronics, 30 years is
quite a bit.
a long time. And the part you start to run out of parts, they don't carry them anymore. So. But yeah, that's actually gonna be good. If anything along, Indian Point or neighboring community, or any neighboring areas down there, if that for 99 inch.
Right, it won't be 100%.
Well, the mag meter will tell you exactly what we're getting in there. And take you through
Yeah.
how much is ours and how much is someone else's. So that's a help price. So,
And it's $10,000, if that's the right price, we could probably budget out of this year's budget, before we end, so.
yeah, and that's something that there's one in there now. You basically pull it out, put another one in. So it's not that complicated. It's more cost than it is later. It's probably maybe a day or two, because they take all the bolts off first to make sure they can get them off. They put them back on, and then they come in and they do the swap out. So.
And the last item was really, George, the SAG and Route 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just got the survey. We prepared the engineer's report. We found a little problem though. The sewer line is on someone else's property. The person on the corner, he kind of runs over maybe 1 or 2 feet of their property, so we might need an easement from them. It's the other corner, the one that had the billboard at one time, something media, I forget what they are.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Allied Media.
Do they still own that, the media company?
That's what the-
It's just a strip of property.
Yeah.
And that's the property it's on? Oh, yeah, it's their channel.
So that's it just touches like
Um,
2 feet on one end and 5 feet on the other, so when they put it in, they work there very precise, so. Matter of fact, I was just out there today and there's a culvert that goes across the road there, and there's a bunch of trees that sit right on top of it. So we should be taking those trees out as well. They're probably helping.
Yep.
push things down, so that's part of the problem.
I've had that line, cambered and cleaned. It's right now, we're in a schedule to have it cleaned once every 2 months because
It's so bad.
the bow is so bad in there. Any grease or sediment that comes in just falls into that bow, and it just builds up, solidifies, and then restricts the line. Then we have had fallouts for behind bags house for where it's coming out. To give it a manhole, people can't flush the toilet, so we're trying to avoid backups into people's houses, so that's once every two months I have that cleaned and jetted.
So if we can get the easement, and if we're gonna do, I'm gonna go into Peter's files and see what he's got as far as easements. If he doesn't have any, then we have to get one. That's where we're at. So we're gonna reach out to people to get that. And we have everything else. We have the survey. We did a layout of the replacement. It's basically taken out, put it back. It's not complicated. So we're taking out translate pipe, we're putting in ductile iron. It is a little deep. It's about 7 feet deep for both ends, so it's and it's on the side of the road, but it's other than that. It's no problem.
Other than that, it's just another project, yeah.
It's another project, so, but we need that easement to move forward. I mean, we could probably submit to the health department while we're trying to get that easement, and that way we're not losing that time. But until then, we need to get that to do the work. So that's where we're at.
I think that's it. Anything you missed?
Yeah, that's it.
So before, and then, Parks and Recreation, on the last page, most of the stuff is really, George, we worked on it together, some of the stuff, except for some of the pool work. So, we can go through those individual items as well, if you like. I know we talked about the pickleball court, spray pool, the main pool, the pavilion. So these are all capital projects, and see, what the board, how the board would like to proceed with any of these projects. And these are all estimated numbers. Of course, we didn't go out to bid. I know on the pickleball court, at least, we actually have 2 more very current pickleball courts that were constructed, so that number is pretty close. I think what the number might come out to be. The pool is a big unknown.
Mm. Yeah, we were just concerned with the pool. I mean, there is gonna have to be some things done there, but that could end up being the Pandora box over there too.
Correct. And then the water, we have some water valve replacement, but we have some money went in the water fund balance. We talked about that too. I'll put that in there, but I think we can get those projects done without any impact to water fees or anything like that, so we can move on those projects.
So, yeah, we did the valves this year before we did the roads. So we had Vizela, we got the price, Vizela gave us a pretty good price to do the valves. So I think we got all of them done.
Right.
But what recently came up is we're gonna do the leak detection
Correct.
in the next couple days, because we've seen water pop up here and there, so.
And the company, the last time we used them, they found 2 major leaks, so we're bringing, they're gonna do the entire village. And hopefully if there's any leaks, we can resolve that immediately. So they did a good job the last time.
So that's done in the evening, right? The
Yeah, they
protection.
try to do it
They're
with
going-
hours.
They don't have it.
So,
Probably going on for years.
So the roads that are gonna be paved are they're gonna check for the leak detection.
They did them already.
Oh,
but
good, okay.
Since they're doing the whole village again, they're gonna check them again, so.
Oh, good.
So
All right.
based on I think they checked it 3 years ago, 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago.
I think what we
It
did
was
at
about
8 Avenue.
It was 3 years ago, right?
It was about 3. So that's the last time we had it done. So
All right.
it's not a bad schedule to do it every 3 years either, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you don't wanna pave the road and then surprise.
No,
George, do we actually go out to any other bidders besides Pizella for water and sewer?
we,
I mean, do they have emergency contract with us, or why are we always using Pizella? Is that always the lowest bidder?
he turns out to be the lowest guy.
Does anybody else ever come in with bids?
We tried WD for Wright and Croton. They
Yeah.
did some sewer work for us.
They do what's on.
They come up, so if an 8-inch valve is $5,000, they're at 8 or 9, so everyone else seems to be a little higher, so, he seems to give always a.
And his work is good.
His work is good. He used to work for the, Peekskill DPW, he was a water department foreman there, so he knows water and he knows sewer pretty well doing
Yeah,
it.
that's good, right.
Yeah, we always try to get other
Right.
prices,
WD.
even our small
Yeah,
projects,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we got WD and plus other teams to outbeat them all every single time.
Yeah, the problem is.
Seems like he's got it monopolized around.
I know. If if you know another contractor, we'll go, we'll have them
Yeah.
bid,
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
Come here.
That's,
Yeah.
that's the problem. You ask people and if they don't get it, first
Mm.
2 or 3 times, they're like, well, you got this guy going, so they get discouraged. So,
And they gotta do prevailing wage. A lot of people do not want to do prevailing wage, and Brazil does.
And you got certified payroll?
Yes, and
yeah,
yes.
he gives out there, but,
The Department of Labor is on top of that, if I can tell you that much. They email him all the time for the reports, yes.
Yeah, they remind you that when you were awarded, you're supposed to let them know, when you started the project, you're supposed to let them know, and when you're finished, you're supposed to let them know, because they come around and they do spot checks on your project. They say, oh, we're coming to your area, so tell us where your contractor is, what are you doing?
And sometimes do surprise visits and interview the workers, find out how much they're getting paid an hour.
So,
Those are all stories you guys hear. I'm yet to see him 30 years in.
They got us in Peekskill once.
Hmm.
Yeah, they do. They said that, they said, we'll be in. I haven't
Yes.
seen it myself,
That's right.
it's true.
Yeah.
I agree. with
I've
that.
never seen him, but
You're lucky.
I've heard about him, but I've
Yeah.
never seen him.
They got us in Peekskill pretty big, it's a $35,000 or $40,000 fine. They got-
Anything else, first, George? I'm sorry.
No, that's right. I think George, anything I missed or anything you want to talk about?
No,
else?
I think, trying to look at all these, I gotta use my.
I-
No. If you wanna see the micro screen, there's one right at the plant right when you pull in, so if you wanna see it. It's gonna be a smaller version, it's not gonna be something that big. And then, for the pickleball court, Mark's mentioned, we're doing work for Peekskill. You park right up the road, so
The blacktop just went in.
the blacktop just went in.
I drive by it every day.
And
I saw
the,
the kids playing tennis on there over the weekend.
There's the tennis
I
court
mean,
behind it.
The two weekends ago.
Okay. Well, they play on the blacktop or on the tennis court behind
The
it?
tennis courts.
Yeah, they have tennis courts and then in front of it, they want the pickleball courts. Yep.
so they were doing that, I think they're gonna be probably done in half a month. And mid-October, and they're gonna put sod on the field and stuff, so.
I can buy my paddles.
Yeah. It's a new thing.
What's the balance that we have in the fund, the recreation fund? And I know we just changed that law.
It was like 190,000, 190,000.
190,000.
In the recreation.
We've now changed the law, so now it could be used for maintenance.
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
for any-
Correct. Whatever the board decides to use it for, correct. 190. That's be more.
And, the valve replacement, the control valve replacement, we did all the smaller valves already.
We can start moving ahead with all the other ones too.
The larger ones we haven't done.
Yep, so we can start moving on those now too,
We
yes.
have 3 of those to do.
Yeah, so get some bids on that one, let's get that moving.
Yeah, so the problem with them is the valves are, I forget the name of the company, Harper control valves. So then one company makes them, and they only have one distributor in the area. I mean, you can go to a distributor in another region and ask them for a price, but it's gonna be put. So it's like servicing your Mercedes, you can only go to so many people that are certified Mercedes dealers. So I mean, they give a competitive price, but,
Yeah, another side project we're working on, just to put everything out there, as we know, we meter everybody's houses for water usage. We also have, meters at certain locations of water coming in. So we're trying to tie everything together so we can read, all the water coming in, as well as the water being sold. So that will help us help us with water detection if there's any leaks, but also make sure that we're in the right ballpark with everything. So there's a couple locations, big meters,
yeah.
that didn't have, remote connections. So we're working on that right now. So, George has been working with Randy and Scott to get that done as well.
So, yeah, those are the commercial.
And we got the 2 pits too, the pits coming in.
The
Mhm.
pits and the commercial meters, so like Cook, Entergy and all the other commercial people, the bars. They had their own meters put in when they were putting 6-inch, 8-inch meters. So since we're on Badger, we reached out to all the, at least Cook we did, I don't know if we got the other, but. they're all-
Everybody was contacted.
So they're, okay, so they're all ordered, so we're just waiting for the order to come in. As soon as the order comes in, I think, Zella is doing the
Installation. And the water pits coming in Albany Post Road and and Peekskills pit there in order to read those. You know, some work has to be done with Albany Post Road.
So Albany Post Road, we have, we need a reader to read, what DEP has, DEP, get onto DEP system. So DEP has their own proprietary system. Can we buy water? It comes from the aqueduct, it goes to Montrose, it comes to us, DEP has their hand in it, Montrose has their hand in it. So we have to get the program to get access to that,
Right.
so we get real time data. So not so much hard equipment, more software equipment and that kind of thing.
So I think that's all engineering, water and parks projects. Anything else we missed, George?
No, no, we talked about the Linsco boat dock, but we're still waiting on the clear path to figure out what's going on with that.
Yep, and it looks like they're going at alternate routes, so.
Yeah, there was some discussion that there were several routes they were looking at. One of the routes was coming in, Anthony and I had met with them and had a discussion with them, but it's looking like the alternate route is the original route they were talking about, going in by the garbage plant and just going right up Louisa Street, right up the road, so that they can run it down to Croton. And they'll use the easement alongside of 9. The other alternate, they were coming in Glens Cove, they were going down Broadway, they were going down Blakely, then they were going down 9A. It was kind of like
All over the place.
not a direct route, like, so they're going, right now they're going with the original one, but we're not sure because there's things, that they have to have settled before they can do that. So we're still considered an alternate.
But while we're on Len's Cove, why would we even consider those two things if, in fact, the parking lot is the condition of exempt?
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Yeah, why would you?
I mean, you're throwing good money after bad.
Yeah,
It makes no sense.
yeah.
The perfect thing would be,
Actually,
a developer.
That parking lot needs to be remediated of everything underneath it needs to be remediated.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's just
just shot.
a can of worms right there.
Absolutely.
It was a dump, so I
Yeah.
I put asphalt out of the dump.
Yep.
Here we are. So, yeah, that's hopefully a developer comes in, does something within the point, and then
That's the only way that's the only way it's getting paid.
That's right.
the perfect way to get that done.
Mhm.
When we went after the Entergy money, the 7 million, that was one of the requests that we had put in to do. And I think at the time it was more, but that was one of the requests to see if we could get that parking lot done. But
Yeah, you just look what it costs to do a parking. lot.
yes,
You
yeah,
know, $750,000, it's crazy.
Mhm.
so, but, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. It's gonna be a developer that's gonna end up taking care of that.
Just saying, I'm just throwing it out there.
No, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Just to give you the number so you know what the numbers look like. That's
Yeah,
all.
no problem.
Good, George?
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right,
In
good.
case George
Thanks, George.
Palmer hits the lottery and he says, I'll do it for you for free. Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
Hey,
See you
Teresa,
next time.
Who would you like to do
I
next?
think, let's follow the highway.
Okay.
We have our
Scott?
highway foreman, Scott Horton here.
Is George gonna stay here for the grants?
Oh, yeah, we'll say for
Oh,
grants.
do you want to, let's finish, I'm sorry, Scott, I'm sorry. Do you want to
Okay.
finish with that? Okay, sorry, George. Okay, so let's do the grants.
Okay.
Sorry, Scott.
Sorry.
So, we got 2 grants, one from last year, one for this year. One grant was accounted for to paint the beams of the pavilion. And then the other grant which received this year, both $400,000. The possible idea is to use that money for the boiler to reduce the cost of the overall boiler. So those are the 2 grants. 2 of them are $100,000 each. It's a board option. George, an engineer, he can discuss either one and decide what the board would like to move forward on.
So, well, Well, I guess the EV grant,
That's the this year one. All right, we're
That's
gonna use-
this year's, yeah.
that's this year's one. I mean, going towards the boiler, it seems to make a lot of sense, right?
Right.
And there's no way to restructure the pre-existing grant from last year to put it towards the boiler?
That I do not know. We'll
Well,
have to call Harkin's office, I guess.
so. When we had gotten the additional money from Entergy, which was 135,000. And I had asked you a couple weeks ago, is that 135,000 that was supposedly designated for the. The boiler? Is that still in the
Yes,
the capital fund? So.
correct.
So there was money that was set aside for the boiler. Because at one time the price was a lot lower. So we already have that in capital funding, but is that in this capital, in the amount that you said? That we
No,
have now?
no.
It's in a separate line?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So we have
that's
a,
in addition to.
Yeah, the 135, Cindy, I think we put that into, yes. Yeah, that was $135,000 that we got from Entergy.
yeah, the last negotiation.
Correct.
okay.
So we have $135,000 for that. That's set aside, correct?
Plus the 100,000 EV grant.
Correct.
Why are we hearing about this now?
I think that was.
No, I know,
years
this was,
ago.
I remember the 135,000,
Yeah.
but I don't know why we didn't put it towards the boiler in the conversation 6 months ago.
Because,
Why is it coming up now?
Yeah.
And why wasn't it brought up then? Because it would have made it a lot easier to make the decision,
Decision, right,
you know?
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
the press grant that came out from Senator Harkin was solely geared toward, because he's in charge of the environmental, he's on that committee. So that was geared toward, and we discussed it with the board for it to go to an EV vehicle and, electric vehicle.
But
No,
this is the
that's
twenty
different.
twenty-three grant. you're
Right.
talking about.
Right,
We're asking
right.
about the 2022 grant.
So that was a grant that was discretionary with Senator Harkin. And for the last several years, we had conversations before you guys were even on the board that we were going to upgrade and make our pavilion safer, because there were some issues that we needed to address with the pavilion. There were things that were never maintained for many years. So there was a conversation years ago that Senator Harkin would give us money towards the pavilion to do different things, to upgrade the pavilion. And this kind of really started back when Senator Murphy was really a fierce advocate of the village. And he started giving us our first grant where we did some of the repaving in the area for the pavilion. And then Senator Harkin came in, and it was agreed for many years that it would go towards the pavilion doing the upgrades, because we must have spent, what, George, 500,000 on with grants on the pavilion?
And over the years,
Wow.
we've thrown money at it, and I know Entergy had money sitting there for a number of years.
Yeah.
To be used for, I guess, recreation, and I guess that's the money that got reappropriated for maintenance or whatever.
That's two different.
Yeah, over the
So,
years,
yeah,
we
this
did-
was-
we did a painting project at the Highway Garage in 2009. We did the tennis courts at one time, but, what is it? We got a CBDG to do the playground that's next to it. So over the years, little bits and pieces of money have gone towards the.
George, what recently have you gotten in grants? Like, have you heard any new grants that have come down the pipeline that we haven't heard about?
Anything I get, I send out to you guys, so I don't.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
I don't think I've seen any information on any grants available.
No, I'm saying whatever I get, I give to you, and I
To who?
send it to the smartest. Anything I get.
Well,
I
there's
don't
been
see
nothing
it.
recent, but there's been nothing
There's
recent.
nothing recent.
Yeah. Other than George, and we all spoke about it, George put in the grant for the sewer treatment plant,
Yeah, that's
the
the
WQIP.
WQI people.
Because the grant for the 2022 Harcum grant.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about from years ago.
Right.
I don't think are the same grants.
That's correct.
Right, the 136,000 was set aside from Entergy many
Years
years
ago, yes.
Okay. The
And
$100,000.
yeah,
The $100,000 was last year, and then the $100,000 this year.
Okay.
Correct. So those are three different funding sources.
And under what guidance was that grant awarded?
Well, I didn't apply for it, so.
Or wasn't a grant that was applied?
It was a
I
grant.
didn't make it about it.
Which one, the 135?
no, the 100,000 for 2022 from Harcum.
So when the plant closed, I went to Sandy Gala and I went to Peter Harcum and said, we need money. Other than the money we were getting from the cessation fund. And that's at that time, he said to me that he does have, it's not called the press, it wasn't called the press grant at the time. So it is discretionary. It's up to him if whether the community gets it. So at that time, it was discretionary. This EV grant last year was not discretionary. It was given out to all the communities. So the 2022 had been discussed before. So I'm going to ask, I have a letter here from Senator Harcum's office that specifically earmarks the painting of the pavilion.
If we
If you
needed money
want.
in this village, why are we using it to paint the pavilion? If that's what you went to him for,
That's what he told me that he could give us at the time of the.
just for painting the
cessation fund.
pavilion.
And that's
That
the
was the
only
board's
thing-
direction.
No, it
That
was not the
bo-
board's
this is
direction.
before you were even
No,
here.
I was here in
No, no.
22.
No, this was before 2022. We have been getting money each year for the pavilion. Each year over the years, we've been getting money for the pavilion.
I think those are different grants you're talking about, and I disagree.
Still the same.
I don't think so. I think they're different grants, and I want to know why you got a letter from Harcum and we don't know anything about it.
This is 2022, yes. Because, let me go back again.
Because there's no transparency when it comes to grants. Just
Okay,
saying.
Anthony, please don't go there with me with transparency, because
George,
we could have a conversation
you-
for hours about
have
the
you
lack of
been
transparency here.
told not to share grant information with us?
I pass on the grants, like the SAM grant. We had a SAM grant 2 years ago with the pavilion to do the painting of the bottom of the steel there.
Mhm.
And then we were gonna do a roof repair. We did a little bit of a roof repair.
Yeah.
That was with the SAM grant.
Yeah.
And do you think that the pavilion needs to be painted right now?
I think it can, it's been in the same condition for the past couple of years. It could go another couple of years. I know there's been talk about having maybe the highway people, do the work, and that's certainly a possibility.
Of course, it's a possibility, but that was never discussed.
No,
We never
So
discussed
let me
it.
go back once
just said
again. This is way before you guys were on the board. This was the discussion I had with Senator Harcum that the discretionary money each year of 100,000 would go towards the pavilion. I can call him tomorrow. I don't even know why this painting wasn't done, but that's another story. So I can go back to him tomorrow and ask him if it could be used for something else.
I don't see why you wouldn't do that.
If that's what the board's direction is.
Well, we
I'll
never
do
had a
it.
choice to answer that question. This is
But
the
let
first
me go-
time.
Okay, time out. With this grant here.
Have you,
Let's
Steve?
go.
No,
Okay.
any funds that are received by the village should be discussed and
Oh my
dispersed
gosh.
according to the direction of the board.
The
This
direction
is
of the
taxpayer
board-
money.
The direction of the board at that time, at the direction, not this board, the direction of the board at that time, they were in agreement to put the funds that we could get from Senator Harcum to the pavilion. It would save the taxpayers money. It would also make sure that the pavilion, we kept the pavilion for years. The last project here to paint this pavilion from a contractor who would guarantee it would be, now it would secure the safety of the pavilion. And the only other thing is we'd have to come up with $500,000 to do the roof. I don't know where that's gonna come from, but that's down the
I
road.
haven't seen inspections on the roof. I haven't seen pictures. I haven't seen anything to say that the roof is in that much failure.
And I disagree that painting the pavilion would at all,
Structurally, that
safety.
pavilion is steel beams.
It
They're
can
not going
rust.
anywhere.
It's
It can rust for 30,000 years and still be there.
Right, well, this was discussed before with the previous board. Now,
but it
if
wasn't
this
discussed
board-
to be ongoing, continuous forever.
Yes,
that
it
anyone-
was.
that's
I
what
had
it's
the
discussed.
conversation
We have the
with
minutes of
Senator
that meeting
Harcum.
that says that
I
any
had
money
the
received from Senator
conversation with
Harkin will
Senator
go towards that
Harkin.
pavilion.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue with you guys. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and argue and have a
It
fist
can't go
fight.
into perpetuity.
What would you like?
Every time.
What would you like? I will go back to Senator Harcum and ask him if this grant could be used for something else. So what are your thoughts for it to be used for something else? So that when I go back to him, because the second grant of the 100,000, or I think everyone's in agreement, I'm not sure, is for the boiler. Let me also know if that's okay too.
Well,
I
in the
don't know.
emails from 2 weeks ago, that was said. And you said no, because it had to go towards the painting.
No, you're getting two of them confused. There's $200,000 grants here.
Yes, and
There's
we
one
did
from
sing, we
2022.
did single out each one. And one you said was for the painting and one could be used for the boiler.
Correct.
But now you're saying that we could get it changed.
I don't know. I don't know. I
Well,
would
why
have to
wouldn't you have
ask.
said that 2 weeks ago when we asked that? Because we were $266 in a hole with a boiler, that we can actually use that money for something that is important at this moment.
So let me go over this again.
Oh, please.
For the boiler, there's $135,000 that we have in a line that was specifically earmarked from the Indian Point, from the energy closure agreement. The board at that time decided that put it towards the boiler. So we put it into a special line. If we use the $100,000 from this year's grant, which seems to be the board's direction, that would give us a total of $235,000 towards the boiler. At that point, we would only have $35,000 more of village taxpayer money that would be used to cover the boiler. So 135 and 100, 235. So to make up the difference is only $35,000 more for a brand new boiler. So let me
So
just.
200 and 300, so 335,000 would leave us where?
200, well, it's
We have like
260,
60 grand left. or something.
Right.
230, well, it's 230.
So if we use the $200,000 grants and 135,000 to cover the expense of the boiler, which would cover the expense of the excavation
Yeah.
and complete the project, we'd have a surplus of money, correct?
Correct.
We wouldn't be in the hole for 35,000.
Mhm.
What is the board's direction? What would the board like to do with this grant money? I will find out that if this 2022 that was earmarked for the pavilion, if that can be changed at this point, what would the board like to see?
I'd like to see exactly what I just said.
And I know with the grants too, there's like sometimes you can't go less than 50,000, but I will get the full details and I will email the details to the board and we will discuss it also next Tuesday night. So 35,000. And then Marcus, you said, what was it for the trench? It was 7,000?
It's 7,300, I just looked it up,
Okay.
$7,300 for the trenching.
So the shortage on this is,
4,000 for the condensing work.
so
we're
say 12,000.
We're 275
Okay.
what it was for
Okay,
everything.
So 12, so
275, right.
we $47,000 more we need to get for the furnace. Okay. I will ask if we can take the 100,000 from 2022. We will not, I guess we're not going to paint. We can't paint this year anyhow, the pavilion. So I will ask if 47 or 50,000 can go towards the furnace, and then this way, it will be no expense at all to the village residents for the new furnace here at the village hall. Is that the board's direction?
I think that would be the best.
Okay. Dan, do I have an agreement with you here? Is
Yep.
that what you'd like to see? All right. I will find out if the 2022 can go.
How about
towards that.
Bob? Does he have an answer for that?
I'm so sorry, Bob. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not intentionally
Okay.
leaving you out, believe me.
I understand. I understand what everyone's saying. I do believe no matter what we do, the pavilion has to be painted at one point in time or another. It has to be upgraded. It's a big job. It's a time-sensitive job because of the things we do down the pavilion. As far as the grants and where they came from, the money that's there, I think we can iron out those differences between us at a later time. But I really do think that we also need to do that boiler. So what's the first thing we need to do? The boiler. We can't do that to the spring either. We can't do either one of these projects to the spring. So,
And then you have the pool on top of it to deal with, sure. Which we know that.
excuse me?
Plus, we have the pool I have to deal with in the spring, which is gonna be a month.
Right, the pools that monster's gonna eat our money up for a long, long time. So there's no easy fix for that. But, I think the boiler's probably the first thing we should get done. The pavilion has some years in it left, as George just said, and we can address that in the future, the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's true.
We did do a project through a grant to paint and what, we did a whole bunch of welding and steel work to make it last longer.
Right, there's been a lot of work that's been done there.
So that was through Sam, and just fix the bottom, and then we made repairs on the top.
So we're gonna be we're only using 275.
Yeah, we surplus about $60,000.
Paint supplies.
Correct.
Obviously, labor can't be used
Renting,
for the
rent-
grant, but there's paint supplies that could be purchased
correct.
with the
In
possibility of
advance.
having, right, in advance and possibly having the highway guys.
Yeah, there's a surplus to do the painting with the DPW guys, yeah.
Well, the only thing I'll say about that, to be honest with you, is I'm not. This is no hit on the highway guys at all, but that's a big job to make this last. I think George will agree with me. Adhesion is the biggest thing when it comes to painting. Am I correct, George?
Have now.
You have to. I believe power washing is the way, sandblasting is probably the way to go, and get that done properly. It lasted how many years since we've done it last? The elements do beat it up, but what was it? 2009, George?
2009, and part of it was sandblasted and part of it was power washed. So the paint from back then and the paint now
Totally different.
is
Totally different.
a lot more robust. And you can, you get the manufacturers, you get all the directions and how to apply it, and you get a coating system. You get a system that's three-part system. You do a primer, you do a top coat. and then
You don't even have to sandblast or power wash at this point with the paint that they have now. It adheres, it keeps everything together.
So, yeah, so there's,
I mean, with a power washer, you could do the whole pavilion.
it's,
As a suggestion too, throwing up the opposite way, is we use the $200,000 grants. Get that totally done.
Mhm.
The $135,000 remaining, that we can use at our leisure and get the grants out of the way.
Mhm.
And then have that surplus out of the money we already have, and then we can buy the equipment the way we need. So if we want to go in that direction, you don't have to worry about the surplus with the grant money, which also is limited to $50,000. You can use all that up, get the boiler done, and then the remaining balance we can use for the, and we wouldn't have to go back and report to the state anything.
I was just concerned at how that $130,000 is sitting in that fund. Is it,
So there's no,
was there anything that was,
we use at our discretion.
right?
I don't think there was any
is there a time
restriction.
limit on it?
No, it was energy walking away.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so that money, I think you have,
restriction.
is our money, so with no restrictions, so that way that money can sit there and we can use it as our leisure. We don't have to rush to buy the stuff. We can buy the stuff as we need, use it for the rental and everything else. And then.
So I do have another question for you, George. So the prices we got on painting the pavilion, was that including the sandblasting and the wrapping of the building because we're sandblasting and all, and the other things that come along with that?
So one of the contractors that I spoke with intended to use a power washing system and
Okay.
totally with the
Manufacturer.
manufacturer's recommendations, and they have a paint rep, like if Sherman Williams or one of the other ones, they come out and they make sure you're doing it right from the get-go, so that you don't.
You get everything.
Yeah, they want to warranty their
With
product.
barges and tanks
They-
and
they-
done a lot of steel products.
Yeah, they don't want their product to go bad, so they give you they send the rep out.
Did we get a proposal for this?
No, we got, I talked to the guy who did the base bid, the bases around the pavilion. And I said, well, we want to get a grant or we want to get money or whatever we want to do. And they want a budget for it. And so what is it going to cost? And he said, you're good with about 110, 150,000, somewhere around there. He said, you'll be okay. You might need a little extra money, but you'll be close.
And that was when, a year ago?
No, that was about 3 months ago.
Okay.
Because when we got this list, that's when it came up. When we got the budget, it was probably in April.
Mm-hmm.
So in April, I was asking about that because he was just finishing up. And he's the guy to ask because he just did it.
Mhm.
And he was doing it with rollers and he was doing the not the sandblasting, he was doing the power washing. He ground some of it. So you're gonna need to spot grind maybe in spots. But most of it is like Anthony was saying, is in pretty good shape. You don't see like peeling, chipping, kind of rusting.
Yeah, I was down there and I didn't see any pitting. I didn't see really anything. I'd see a little bit of spot rust,
Right.
which you could probably power wash off. And if you use the right coating system with primer, you can go right over it. And I brought up the idea of using our DPW guys because, like you said, he was using rollers and a power washer and a man lift. I know Scoots guys are under a lot of pressure with things that they need to do, but if they scheduled to do pieces, I believe that throughout the year, they could actually accomplish the project if we were to go that route. But that would be up to him because he's the foreman.
So.
Anthony, I do agree. Anthony, I agree with what you're saying. I have the same concerns you do, is because it's a very time-sensitive project with when the winter breaks, when we're going to get ready to do projects like that, where you have camp coming up at the end of June. Then we have, it's going to be intermittent. There's no doubt about that. So that was my only real concern as far as it's a little stress on the highway department with the manpower and how many guys it's going to take to do it and how long it's going to take to get that job done. Because then we come to September with our Buchanan Day. There's always something going on. We can always shut down the pavilion for anyone that wants to use it for any, residents. That's fine. But they're just the things I was thinking about being concerned with.
Well, that would be where Scott schedules and arranges certain situations when he can do it and when he can't do it.
Right.
I mean, it's all on scheduling at that point.
This would have to go out to bid anyway, correct?
Not if you're doing it.
Not if
Now you're doing it
DPW
in-house.
does.
If you go outside of your.
Correct, for $100,000, you have to go up front with it, yes.
Over 35, yeah.
30, I think it's 35. So I'm just saying, Teresa is saying, if you're gonna go back to Hartman's office, the idea would be, the idea is use the full amount. That way it's done over with the state, because there's a lot of requirements with the state money. And then if we use it all with it's clean slate, and then we can use our money to do the other work, so. Makes sense. Okay.
So has anybody gotten a price on the lifts and everything that it would cost us to do this in-house? The warranty is.
Like I said, you get the paint prep.
Well, I can get a price on lift tomorrow for a month or a week or a day or
But it
whatever you
sounds
want.
like more than a month this is gonna take, and it's gonna.
Well,
be
he's got it's up to his
intermittent, so.
schedule.
And now leaf season starts, so we're not gonna be doing it this year because the weather's changing pretty fast, so.
It'll be a spring project.
When I had asked the beginning of the year, in the season, I'm noticing that the highway garage is peeling quite a bit. And I had asked to have that painted this year, and Scoot, you guys work hard. There's nothing, absolutely, I'm not
Scott,
saying
come to the podium anyway.
anything against the highway department. You guys did a fantastic job this year. You did the stairs to the, down in Lens Cove. You did the stairs up to the pool. You do a lot of extra work. But I know I was told that the highway was, too busy this year to do in-house painting of the highway garage. So what I would ask next year, I would hope that, as you're finding time to do the pavilion, that, maybe the highway garage could also get painted.
It's all about, I don't like to say no to jobs. It's all about time.
Yeah.
We did do 3 sets of stairs this year. I still have 1 set of stairs at West Cove that we haven't gotten to. We're still broke off just to be, and it's not a complaint, it's just a fact. We get pulled in a lot of different directions. And so it's just the fact that I really thought all the stairs would have been done by now in my head, but it just wasn't in the cards. And the guys did a great job in the other sets of steps. But it's just, obviously we're a small highway department, so we get pulled in a lot of different directions, trying to do a little bit of everything, and some things just take longer than we would like. So that's the same thing with the pavilion. I don't want to say no, it's a job that we can do. It's just when the timeline that you want it in, because like in the fall now we have leaf season coming up, and we tie guys up in the leaf bag. And then we also have to clean the leaves up like this building and other areas to get them picked up and ourselves, and just the regular day-to-day things that we have to do besides. And then, like Bob said, in the spring, I don't know what the plans are to do the pool, but we have to get the pool ready for music for camp, and we have to get stuff ready for camp. And it's just, I don't want to make excuses, but we can get the job done. It's just what's the timeline? And honestly, some of the things that we did do this year weren't as fast as I would have liked to have gotten them done. And it's not because the guys aren't working, it's just because we
again, like, I just use the stairs as an example. We tore out all the stairs when we could, we used, Provo came in and helped us, they brought their, excavator. And so we took out all the stairs at one time. And this way, we were borrowing equipment. And we would do like one set of stairs and have to go do something else. Sometimes we didn't finish the stairs, have to go something else to come back. And so it was kind of bouncing back and forth. And so, these guys are always working, it's just, sometimes it's just not always in the same place. So that's just what makes it harder.
You know, you have a limited staff there, Stu, and you guys, really, I mean, you really go above and beyond.
And we're limited
We all
on-
appreciate it.
we're limited on, equipment. If you're relying on another municipality's piece of equipment and they're using it that day, or you can only have it for one day and not 2 days in a row, it's.
Yeah, I mean, the town of Portland has helped us out and the town wasn't available at that timeline, so then I reached out to Portland and they were willing to help us, so. It was,
So Scoot, now that you're on the hot seat,
Are we done with George?
George, I think we're pretty much covered now. Is everybody okay with George? So George can,
Is any of the highway stuff?
okay, yeah, you can,
Oh, yeah.
I know you like our meetings.
I'd love.
Okay.
So speaking about equipment, so we have Scott Horton, our highway foreman here, and we do see a list of things on here. I know one of them is on here, you have to replace the 1992 Mack plow truck. And one thing I will say for the Village of Buchanan, we really get our money's worth out of our equipment.
So when you talk about that truck, what do you do with it? Why you need to replace
well,
it?
that truck, that wasn't necessarily for this year.
Right.
It was just like a 5-year thing. I mean, that truck we mostly used for plowing and salting. It can be used obviously for, if we take the spreader out and you can use it for hauling thing. But it is 30 years old and, it's, you know, a little bit outdated, it's a little harder to get parts. But when I say.
I'm sorry, that's the one to stick as well, right?
No, the one that they replaced
Gotcha, okay.
when Bob was foreman was a standard, which we
Gotcha.
still have, and we're hanging on to as a backup for right now. And then if we decide for sure to replace the 92, then I would say to get rid of the 89 and keep the 92, because then that can be the backup, and we also use that for hauling things like rocks, where we can haul more than what is in our smaller dump trucks. So sometimes we're gonna be on the side of the road on Broadway, we have to bring a bunch of rocks to fill in stuff that washed out. In the smaller trucks, we're gonna be making like 10 trips, where if we put it in one of the bigger trucks, it might be like one trip. So if we keep a bigger truck around that's available, when I first got here, we used to have an extra big truck around, and then slowly it just kind of got old and got rid of them and never replaced like that spare truck. So,
So we put that for the 26, 27 year. That way you can
Yeah, so
have an idea of what the timeline is for long term.
And I'm glad you mentioned Broadway. I was out with George a couple of weeks ago and I showed him the heavy runoff.
yeah, we just
In that
got
area.
2 loads of rock in,
Okay.
and we're trying to get, as soon as we can, we're gonna get over there and fill all that back in. So,
Otherwise, we're gonna lose the road.
And then we got the 2011 Chevy dump truck replacement in the 25, 26 year. We'll talk about that a little bit.
yeah, I mean, the one we have, the 2004 Chevy dump is getting older, it's rusting. We did last year, we took the dump body and we got rid of a lot of the rust and we painted it, so we made it look a lot better. But it's definitely slowing down. And last year we were having some trouble with the plow, and I looked into it and they said that we would need a whole new plow system on it. I don't know if we really want to spend money on a new plow, frame, plow. The plow was shot itself, but then you needed the whole assembly for it. And is it really worth spending money, a few $1,000s on a truck that maybe that not really up to plowing in a year or two? You know, it's something you probably still use for driving around, like weed whacker the lawnmowers, but
Right.
as far as the strength to plow, you really want to spend the money on that where it's not gonna. So that was why I thought we should replace that one.
The next item is a whole bunch of traffic signals, on the,
That's an important discussion to have, because the BB traffic light, we've had this discussion before, what to do with that, so.
yeah,
that's,
so,
You know, and then the 4th Street light too.
yeah,
That's
so
been-
I've got some updated numbers, so I can give you updated version on this, but the BB school to replace that is about $40,000, and when we replace that, the only other issue that I found out was it's on school property. So we have, if that's the discussion we gotta have, we gotta talk about where we can relocate it or get an easement from the school to place it there. So that's 40,000, but I'll get you all the updated numbers. But the one that we really have to really replace is the one on Blakely and Broadway. The price for that one, some of the lights are failing, that's $13,000. We might be able to do that, you know, out of this year's budget, get it done. Some of the signals are not working there,
Well,
outdated.
One red light on Broadway and Blakely hasn't worked for over a year. Luckily, there's 2 sets of lights there on that one side, because the traffic light itself
That's
is
right there at the
outdated.
deli?
And
Yes,
can't be fixed.
no, it's on Broadway, it's on
Oh,
Broadway.
on Broadway,
It's on
yeah,
Broadway.
I'm sorry.
It's right over, that's what I was thinking.
If you're coming in from Peekskill heading towards Fur Plank, it's that way.
Yeah.
And luckily, there's 2 sets of traffic lights there, so the one red light's still working, one's not. But it hasn't worked in over a year, and we've had the electrician here, and he says just
The control
it's so
panels.
outdated that it can't be fixed. And so we had, he looked at it, and he said, you need new traffic light, we had traffic systems come. And then a lot of the stuff there is just so outdated that they need to replace a few things.
Right. So it might be,
So-
I think we could get that down out of the ship. I'll give you updated numbers on all that. The next time is the Bobcat excavator, so.
Yes, like Todd was talking about, he has a backhoe with a front end loader on at the sewer plant, which is from 92. And we've used that backhoe for projects before, but like I said, we lost friend. We discussed it, we thought maybe if he got a little skid steer and we got an excavator, then it would be cheaper and we each get something we need. But then Anthony came down, we were talking to Anthony, and he really probably knows a little more about this than I do, and he suggested that for us, a backhoe would probably be better. I mean, a stronger, and one thing we really didn't take into account, if we got an excavator, we would have to get a trailer too, because we can't just drive the excavator down the street. And so I know, because it says excavator on the list there, but then I have prices for excavator and a backhoe. But, so it's something that Anthony's talked to us about, so,
Well, because your backup for the loader is what?
or if the loader breaks down, the shovels.
There you go.
Yep.
So,
And that's where the backhoe comes into play. And that was what I was trying to tell you, is
Yeah.
that you have the old backhoe, right? But you're saying it's losing power.
Yeah.
So for you to combine the skid steer and the backhoe and just get yourself a new backhoe with power, if the loader goes down, you have that to load the
Yeah.
trucks with salt.
Mhm.
Because otherwise you're done. You know, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much what you need.
What's a new
Yeah.
backhoe cost? Anybody know?
if I remember correctly, I think one probably was around 140,000.
That's about right.
So I'll update the spreadsheet with that number, that
Yeah.
way you guys can have that.
The only thing is with the Bobcat, it's just such a flexible piece of equipment. There's so many different attachments to it. You know, snow blower, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but. And then if you had the backhoe, maybe you could do some other things with the backhoe that you can't do now.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, like, we could have ripped the stairs out ourselves, and we could have ripped one at a time, so we didn't have like open, they're not necessarily holes, but they're, like areas where, construction areas that are just sitting there open. So,
The utility of the backhoe is perfect for what you needed.
it's
You know,
also, I
especially
mean,
to
like
do-
picking up grates. when
Yeah,
they're
catch
doing-
basins,
Catch basins.
regrading catch basins and manholes. I mean, for, the backhoe is the best way to go.
Yeah.
You don't need a trailer, you don't need anything.
Yeah.
You drive it around.
So like when we were talking about the excavator, we didn't really even think about that, and then afterwards, really, yeah, we would need a trailer
Good
also,
suggestion.
that would add expense to it also. So,
Anything else for us?
Oh, the
Yes.
storage building, right?
yes, because now we're getting more equipment, I mean, it was already tight in that building now. And right now, we're keeping the old, Mac outside, because there's no room for it inside. So I thought in the area between the playground and the highway garage now, which is basically kind of like no man's land, it's not really used. We've been using this cement pad to store some things now, but I measured it out. You 46 wide and 70-foot length, 19 feet high, metal building. Kind of similar to where the garbage trucks stay at our place, just like a Butler building.
Yeah,
type.
like what the school district just put in over there, Frank J.
Yes, yes, the building itself is about $74,000. And I've tried to get people to come to give us a price on a cement slab, and I've actually had a contractor come, do all the measuring and everything, and then try to get a price from them after all that. It's like, it just like disappeared. I just don't, and haven't been able to get a price for the cement slab. But I talked to one of the guys at the metal building, he told me it should at least double the price of the building. And that's about the price of what the whole thing would cost. So, I mean, because then you could.
Did you engineer the slab, George? Did you give the specs on that?
No, you haven't actually done anything.
Interestingly, there was a plan to make an addition to there probably 20 years ago, and this village always wanted to get a grant to do it. The money, was always CBDG. We reached out to them way back when to do that, and that was had to be at least 15, 20 years ago. But there's a plan floating around
No, I didn't know that.
to use that space, just like you said,
That
for a
was-
Butler building.
It was back Al Dunya's time. He had gotten quite a bit of money and they were supposed to, I think, move the senior center there, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
we're going to talk about a recreation center or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes back. And then always be careful with the CBDG money. Be very careful when you apply for that because that is connected with affordable housing.
So George, see if you can find the plans for that, and we can
I
circle
will,
around.
I'll look that up.
That was over $1 million at that
And
point.
what size were you, because you can
Yeah.
download the plans for them right off the internet. Those, your Butler buildings?
Yeah, I already talked to a company, they already gave
Yeah.
us the full pricing and everything for the building itself, if
Yeah.
they would put it up. And I think that the price is including them putting it up,
Absolutely, yeah.
without this, cement slab.
Well, just get the footprint for the slab, so we can get idea of engineering it and get a price for it.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably just a spread footing. It would be no formed footings on that, right, George?
Yeah, it depends what structure, if it's like the pavilion where you have a whole bunch of vents, a whole bunch of frames that go up and over. If they do a whole bunch of those and then a slab on top of that, all depends.
Yeah,
I mean, like you said, they come off basically off the shelf.
yeah, it really is a prefab building there.
Yeah,
You just gotta make sure your anchor bolt's in the right place.
that's right.
That's it.
Otherwise you're drilling. And helping. That's
Anything else for us, Scott?
No, that was it.
Scott, I just had a question about your list. I know you were here with us maybe a year ago and you talked about some of the limitations of your department with some of the lack of equipment. Do you feel like this list encompasses everything that your department needs to be productive?
Well, we've actually been lucky enough, I mean, I don't know, if lucky is not the right word, but we've gotten some equipment this year that we've got cement mixer this year.
Okay.
Jackhammer.
Yeah, I knew that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Pickaxes.
Yeah, so, I mean, jackhammer we utilize what it did. We're working on the catch basin right now, that's in the right of way of someone's yard, and we'll be using the cement mixer as soon as the rain stops more in the day. And I was just talking to Mrs. Apsinger, and we're gonna hopefully, if her yard dries out, we'll be able to get on her property and fix the right of way versus
Yeah.
her property and figure out some of the trees that fell there, and so
Okay,
we've gotten some equipment, we've gotten new tools that we've needed to make some of the jobs easier, and as we go and we think of things and we ask, it's been very easy to work with and ask for things, because I don't really think I've been turned down, because we're not asking for anything that's extravagant and that's like, that we don't really need, and so I don't think we've really been turned down or anything, unless it's like super expensive, we can't, maybe have to wait a year or two, like a big expense. But as far as smaller equipment or tools, it's been pretty easy.
Yeah, and to answer that question a little bit more, some of the guys have been bringing their own equipment, their own supplies, equipment, so they've been, when they buy some equipment, buy it, socket wrenches, power tools. So we've been getting that, so we have it on hand whenever we need it. So the guy's been, Scott has been fantastic. The guys want to do more. They want to get the right tools, and they've been doing it. So the only thing that one of you guys are the big ticket items here that we have to replace.
Yeah, and the guys, like you said, some of the guys have, like, when you were doing a project and you didn't have the right tool and they had it at home, they had gone home and got the tools and brought them in, and so we could finish the project and do it right the right way. So instead of trying to take it together and get it done. So.
All right, you're good, George? You're good, Scoot?
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Horton? Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Sure. All right, George.
Thank you, George.
Thank you so much. Okay, so so
Please.
we're up to the police. Chief, come up to the podium.
So as the police comes up, in the 23-24 year, you see some smaller ticket items, because we actually have some money set aside for a new vehicle. For the 23-24, we have a new vehicle. And then the chief wants to do a couple more updates, body camera updates, so you have a small number. The car laptops are going to be replacing with small numbers. So when you get the bigger numbers, it's the 24-25 and going forward for replacement vehicles. So I will say that Shane, why don't we talk about license plate readers? We talked about that with the benefit of license plate readers, for the benefit of the dash cams in the car, and why you need to replace the cars in the future.
Yeah, I mean, well, the cars are just, they're used. They're used every single day. They run out of their time, it's a lifespan. And the night, a couple weeks back, we had a car just turn off in the middle of the night, going down foot. I don't know if we started back up, but it's the oldest car we have, and needs to be replaced.
What year is that, Shane?
2017.
And that has 76,000 miles on it.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the idle time though, it's just, that's triple of the miles right there. The idle time is different, so it's high. So, the license plate reader on a new car, we'll just add into our resources, our technology, officer safety and crime fighting. And that's where it's at now. And we're just trying to catch up to the times and link up with these other departments, so we can be all part of that network.
If I may, I just want to give credit to the police chief, the body cameras. He did a lot of research on that and actually got something that works with him, and also a very, very reasonable price, including data storage. I've never seen a company provide a price that low. So he did a lot of research on that. So I want to thank him to do that. And it's been beneficial, being able to have those body cameras to actually show exactly what's happening. So I want to make sure the public knows he did a lot of work on that.
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, and I mean, what else? I mean, anything we want to add to the car, it's kind of, the hard part for us is like, the car cameras sound great, they can use, but we do have the body cams now, so we can supplement some things. It's the future, right? Pricing ourselves out, because there's a cost. We might have to buy it upfront for X amount, but there's always a cost associated. So it's hard for me. Sometimes I have to just outlay, another $4,000 a year. 5 years from now, gonna benefit us now. So So I put them out here, and sometimes I just reconsider and try to think about it. So it's still something I'm interested in. I do need to do my own research, talk to other departments, but I did get a price, for things like that. But the more technology, the more, I'll tell you, the body cameras, they pay their dividends already to us. I mean, we've had some issues and, it's cut and dry with the body camera for the most part. So that's the great news with that. And then, the only other thing I think, it's a car for the road. It says, chief vehicle, that's probably just a typo on my part.
Yes, to replace the gray one you have now.
No, I need to replace a patrol car.
Okay.
Not me. It was just a typo on my part. No, I need to replace a rental truck, yeah. That has the most miles.
Change this.
And it's, that's what we need. So I can go without it.
The update for the multi-band radios, that's a requirement, correct?
It's
Westchester
not
County?
So the problem is everybody's doing this. It's becoming it's just a countywide thing. And I'm kind of handcuffed with Beachville, so I gotta go where they're going. So they were looking into it, so I had to start looking into it. As well as, like the run the other day. We would be able to communicate. We can't communicate with the other officers out there. Not our officers, but the other officers. So we would be able to do that. We can even link up with our command center. He has command center set up. We had a little bit of communication difficulties to using cell phones and stuff. So those are things to catch us up into our communications. But it's also, to communicate with county, the state police, we utilize them a lot. But also I kind of get driven by where the beach goes on. So
Any questions, other questions for the chief?
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
If you're I'm gonna step up for a minute. You got the fire department next, and I think that's it.
All right, so Chief Robert Outhouse, step up, go over the firehouse with us. Thank you for coming. So we have a capital list here, for the 23-24, engine 160, 1991 Pierce pumper. I guess the replacement cost on that would be $850,000.
That's what it is still.
Yeah, I know, the prices have just skyrocketed. And also there's a 2010 Ford that I see in the 2023 request of $80,000. So do you want to do an overview of what your needs are in the department? That would be great.
So let's start off in the order of the started there with the 1991 Pierce, and just give the rest of the board the background on the 91 Pierce. In 1991, I was the chief, and 2 weeks into the term, in 1981, Sanford custom-made truck started to break apart. The dealer in those 10 years was not anywhere to be found. So that left us in a predicament. The truck was breaking apart, steering box was twisting, the truck was actually twisting. It was not engineered properly for the ramp to go up to the firehouse bay. So the board at the time said, we gotta go to the fire truck. Let's go. So we went to the show that year, which was a month and a half away, and we found a demo unit on the floor. That demo unit was probably approximately $205,000. We were able to get $71,000 towards that. We're trading in the hunk of metal that we had. Not that. So that left us with the 1991 Pierce Lance. The 91 Pierce Lance was the workhorse of the village.
It's seen tremendous fires. It's seen fatal fires. It is the first due until the new apparatus came in 21 to everything in this building. It's not 33 years old. If you hear some of the highway saying that they can't find parts to this apparatus. We gotta wait 3 weeks to locate it somewhere in the United States, internal enforcement. The worst part of the scenario is that this is on the 5-year plan to be replaced and to start the process. 2.5 weeks ago, each year the apparatus get a pump test. And it failed its what they call the 10% override. Now, we've never had a pump fail a pump test. That's age. That's age, wear and tear. The approximate cost, once they open it up, is approximately $20,000, not counting any other issues they find when they open it up.
That's 10,000 just to replace the pump.
It would be 20,000 to replace the impeller plus any other issues they find. Now, you're not going to get much more time out of this truck. It's not. This is a piece of life-saving equipment in the building. It's time to get a replacement. Now, when I come to you today and say I'm asking you for $850,000, well, it's not tomorrow. My biggest concern is it may not be next budget cycle because it's taking that much time to build fire trucks. Parts aren't available. It's time to get parts. So for you, it gives you time to think about how do you fund that truck, but it's coming. So what I ask is that there is the possibility of getting a demo truck off the line. They come out. It's on the HCG bid that we did on
That's right.
2021. All the bid process is done.
Yep.
The dealer knows that we're actually looking for something. And what we're looking for, again, to save money, to downsize, is we're looking for a rescue pumper so that we can buy the rescue truck that we currently have, auction, sell, whatever the village deems necessary for that truck, take the 91 and get rid of that also. So we're going to combine the new pumper as a pumper rescue. So here's what I'd like to do. Given this is not a decision that you have to say I got to do this $50,000 tomorrow. Each month, either the beginning of the month or the end of the month, the dealer receives what they call fast track trucks. The fast track truck was one that we purchased. It's basically a no-frills fire truck. There's no extras that we put in there. We just get what we need to do the job. There's a possibility one could come off the line in drawings for November, October. We said I would be ready because they were good. Mind you that these fire apparatus companies are estimating 1.25% increase every quarter. Every quarter. That's a lot of money. If we get a fast track truck, it could take probably 9 months to 12 months. If we get that. We're going to have to start with a truck committee coming together probably within the next week and start outlining what is acceptable for us. The dealer did say that the 850 mark is a good fast track truck number to have. Maybe a little less. Maybe a little less. But that's where we need to go with the pumper. If we were to order the pumper custom, that means throw some more stuff on that we would like to see. That would increase the price and increase the delivery time to 24 to 36 months. What we're finding out is that departments who have signed contracts for apparatus, when they're at the 18th month mark, the contract doesn't say anything about the price increase. So now, Village of Buchanan, whatever district you're dealing with, you owe us $30,000. The truck is now increased $30,000. That's because they don't build fire trucks
piece by piece. They get all the parts. When the parts come in, it may take 12 months for a pump to come in. It may take, steel to come in and et cetera, et cetera. When it's all there, they'll flow together. One thing that Pierce, while I was talking to him 2 weeks ago when I went to pick up the truck and he explained to me what was going on with it. He said Pierce just came out with a contract item that refers to the PPI. So what is the PPI is, what was, do you know what it stands for?
It's index, it's something index.
Yeah, the index. So the PPI index has, what he explained to me, has only risen above 5% in once in World War II, 2008, and during COVID. Pierce will eat up to 5% of that index. Anything over 5%, if it was 6% or 7%, that would be what you pay extra towards the truck at that point. So we need to start moving on this soon. I think you do have time to look at financing, but know the cost is going to.
It's producer price index. Just for the record.
And Pierce, the dealer pulled it out of his bag while I was there and read it to me because it was just right off the bus. How they're going to operate. Any questions about the 91 lane?
It is usable at this time?
So right now,
Mhm.
it pumps to its capacity, which is 1,250 gallons per minute. Not saying that, to go stretch it out and push it hard someday. And mind you that the new truck that it has, okay, that has to go get maintenance. It has to go. So that means that 31-year-old truck is protecting it. So that will go for 52 days, 3 days. I work. Because that is the first piece out of the door when that other truck leaves. So it's time. This has been on the 5-year plan now, or essentially started a 5-year plan, which I think is the best thing for you guys to see where we're at. I was amazed of the cost of fire trucks. 2 years ago, we paid $550,000. Right now, we're looking at an $850,000 piece of equipment. Just outrageous. But it is what it is.
And what would be the general price range for just the pumper? This is a pumper / rescue.
So it's basically the same. What we're actually doing, what we call a pumper rescue, is trying to get a little more deep compartments so we can fit that equipment that's on the rescue truck. Some of the stuff that we can't put on the engine, they're around the same price, right? It's called a pumper rescue, but it's going to have a couple more compartments and areas we can put equipment so we can downsize. So when we downsize, it's less fuel, less insurance for that rescue truck, and that will hopefully, serve us well.
And we could look to auction, bid, sell off
Right,
the rest.
whatever you think is could be in the best interest of the village.
Thank you.
Well, I think somebody should start researching what those two vehicles would get at the moment.
So I have done that, Danny,
Yeah.
and I can't give you a good figure because, if it's 2 years down the road,
Right.
that price has dropped.
Yeah.
Somewhere a price of 100,000 for both, maybe a little bit more, but that price could change. How long are we waiting to get rid of it? So, it fluctuates. So for me to stand here and tell you we're gonna get 150 2 years from now or a year from now, maybe less. So we have looked at it. There probably is a market out there for the rescue truck. That will probably take in the most.
And what year is that rescue?
2008. 9, so.
What else do you want to discuss here, Bob?
Okay, so in the plan itself was the replacement of the Ford Explorer, the 13-year-old Jeep truck. I believe the market you forwarded.
Correct.
Yeah. With the situation that occurred on August 5th, while the vehicle was parked on Westchester Avenue, it was really. Okay. The vehicle was totaled. We're waiting for the insurance company to give us the claim money, and hopefully we'll be well on that. And we'll see what those figures are, and we'll be bringing the money. We'll be glad to bring the money to you and give you that cost there. So the new car, as it stands right now, is on state bid, as we did in 2021. We took a bid in 21 off of, it was the Ellesmere bid. This one is off of the previous bid. The bid work is already done. The state bid on the vehicle itself is 52,000 and change. As comparison, I just want to go back because I put the folder today. When we bought the 21, the contract state bid price was 43,900. So in 2 years, you see how the price has increased from 43 to 52. The dealer was saying that the 2024 state bid price for this vehicle will be $5,000 more. So when you get the vehicle and put all the updated, the equipment back in it, new lights, new boxes and controllers, and the total price comes up to be $79,000. I think I changed it.
That's for your command center, that's for your command.
Well, that's for the entire,
Right.
This car sits up there at the state bid car, they take it to a shop. And once we give it the okay, they strip it down, they put all the wires in, all the radios. Now the radios, they're not new radios, they're the radios that came out of the old car, they just get put back into this car. So anything we could use goes back into the new. So that is an immediate purchase that we would need to do. If there is a car available for us. So that was probably the most immediate. When we, the one thing is what is thinking about the fire truck. I know it has failed a portion of the test. We have to start looking, and if we have the opportunity, I think it would be smart to buy that because it's not going to get cheaper. I did, just so you know, the fire department did apply for a grant for this fire truck in the federal government. We did have the support of our two United States senators. However, it looks like at this time that we did not get awarded the bid. And I believe that was $700,000. There is also two other financing ways we could do that. I've spoken to Marcus. One of the best ways that when we purchased the 1998 Suffolk, which in 2021 replaced, was the then 2% loan, revolving loan at the state office. It's now 2.5%, and it's great money and it's cheap. But I don't think they've updated the cost of fire trucks because they'll only give you $375,000 on a revolving loan. So, I think maybe the state should look at updating that, and that would give an option to many municipalities, including themselves, at very cheap money for 15 years.
And we do have that fund set aside, correct, Marcus? And you said there's roughly how much in there?
That was 270, 275, I think it was. Yeah, it's about 275,000 set aside.
That's still there, so.
So that's great, and it's a great way, and it does ease the burden on decision making for you. It also helps me say, the village does have some money put aside. When you purchase the fire truck, you will not need any money until the day it's delivered.
Correct.
Right.
So you don't need a down payment, you don't need to go into the fund. The only thing I would ask you for is the car money. Replace the car.
Can we just circle back to the Chief's truck that was damaged in the accident?
Good.
If this happened on August 5th, what's taking the insurance company so long to settle the loss?
So
That should be done.
well, it is and it isn't, because for our sake, and when I say our sake, your sake and our sake, is that when we purchase a new car, when we're given the okay to purchase the new car, they will take the time that it takes to take and put the equipment in and they don't know the amount of hours, but that those hours are recoupable for insurance money.
Which is great. So, but do we have a dollar figure on what the reprice is on the total vehicle?
The vehicle itself, Danny, is approximately $7,000
So that's basically what they're gonna give you on the actual cash value of that vehicle.
of the vehicle,
Okay,
approximately. Now, you will see some more money come in as soon as we move to a new car.
plus the cost of taking the old equipment out and retrofitting it to the new vehicle.
And striping
Yeah.
and the hours to put everything back in.
Okay, that was my only question.
Yeah, so we will see some money for that.
So we have that figure, since what's in the fund for,
It's 275,000. I had a note on it.
just curious.
Yeah.
Just
So
food
the,
for thought.
yep, so the money, so the money's in there. If the village wants to move forward with the fire chief vehicles, or with totals, or whatever you want to do with that money
Well, I
set
don't think
aside.
we have
already.
much of a choice on the chief's vehicle. Is everybody in agreement with that? I mean,
I answered. I mean, it's a necessity.
Total.
yeah, I mean, what are we gonna do?
So we can move on that tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, 9 a.m. First of all, thank you very much.
Bob,
And,
before you go,
sure.
the air packs, you're good for replacement of those until 24-25 timeframe?
Yeah, so next year, actually the end of this year, we will go through those air packs and see, which ones will need to be upgraded. Remind you that this is not the fire department, wish list by any means. There's NFPA guidelines and rules and regulations that we have to follow. So we go through those once a year. Is anticipated that will be next year. It's also anticipated that we'll put in for grants. I do ask one thing, is that the fire department personnel are volunteer. They're not export grant writers. If we have someone that can write grants, maybe we'll have a better shot. We've gotten grants before by some of the members. A couple $100,000 will offset radio costs and air tax before. This was a big one we were hoping for, and we were hoping to have good news that we got this grant, but we can still put in for next year. And I would suggest we do that. But maybe some, help in that arena could, offset that cost whenever.
Have you, when you went for that grant, did you get like supporting letters from the state, like Harcum, Leavenburg? Did
So,
you get back
That's
up?
the federal,
Right, I know, but it
grant.
doesn't hurt. They all work together.
and Kieran worked on that project,
Okay.
and both Schumer and Gillibrand
Right.
were in support of that grant for Buchanan.
Mhm.
Other municipalities around us, they get money. We're hoping, we should do it again. There's no doubt in my mind, because that would take a big burden off the village and the taxpayer for next year. When that price.
If we can find out who writes grants for Montrose District, fire district, or
I
Peekskill, or.
could certainly ask, sometimes it's their internal people that do it. Some may be better than others, some may know
Right.
the niches. Some make a lot of professional grant writers.
Right.
So,
Right.
Sometimes it's worth paying the extra little, it's not a lot with the grant writers. They're better off because they know the key words to say
Right,
and
like town quote, I think
Yeah.
it's nothing but grant writer,
That's correct.
so.
what else do you have for us, Bob?
That's it. I appreciate you listening, and we'll keep the 5-year plan in line. And of course, anytime any one of the board members has a question, don't hesitate to give me a call. Again, come over, take a look at what we're dealing with. You guys are making, some difficult decisions, and you need to really understand why you're making them. So I'm there.
Thanks, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Right.
And
Thanks,
one other thing, I want to compliment you. The governor did sign the legislation. We made the news. I get a special report that comes in. Buchanan made the news, and you are now, the Buchanan Firehouse is exempt from before you couldn't exceed 45% non-resident for your volunteers. So why the state does this piecemeal, I have no idea, because I know Harcum and Leavenworth had, pushed this to get through the legislation and the governor did sign it, so, congratulations on that, but I just don't understand why they do it piecemeal, like it's just not blanket statewide. It doesn't make sense.
So it's just yesterday, we were present at the Hudson Valley Volunteer Firefighters Association legislative meeting, which we prepare legislation to go to FASNY, which the FASNY lobbyists then take to the lobbyists to get sponsors for bills. I cannot in my right mind see in this day and age that a fire district municipality would call somebody out on the 45% rule when the state is spending millions of dollars in recruitment and retention. And if I tell my top responder who happens to live outside the district, you can't come to work, we're only hurting ourselves. It's a great thing. We're not the only ones in that law that you'll see printed. I think there's Scarsdale, Briarcliff. Yeah, so they're all coming. I did say to them, listen, why don't you just exempt the whole state?
Right.
Because that's where we're at. That's where we are. So, but thank you again. So thank you to the village board. Yes, we got notified by Senator Hartlett's office. You notified me, Mayor. So it's in, it's done. It'll be written in the law, and this is Buchanan exempt from the 45%.
It's already in.
Yeah.
It's in. We're good to go.
Thank you.
And I just hope our legislature, our people in the legislature, and also the governor, when we get to our other things in the village, that they're as quick to sign legislation for us too and work with us.
We were very lucky to get legislation signed so quickly. And we started this in February, January.
February, March, I think it was sometime. Yeah. So good.
So
Congratulations. Good.
and again, anytime you need anything answered, you want to come over, just give me a holler, please.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, so we've gotten through the capital projects. And now we will, and thank you everyone for coming in to give us the overview on that. What hiring fall seasonal help? What do we have for that? So what do we normally hire for the fall? 3 or 4?
I think we got 2.
2?
Yep.
Because it's our leave season.
That's
now,
correct.
So we get pretty busy soon.
Yep.
Okay, how many applications did we have? 3. We had 3, okay. And we're hiring 2? Okay, and who are we gonna have that on the thing next?
On the agenda.
On the agenda, perfect, thank you. Good, so any other questions about that? So we only hired 2? Okay, because I know there was someone that we had for years, I ran into them at Buchanan Day and they had asked if they would be getting hired back, so just, we'll see. Okay, thank you. So discussion on hazard communication policy.
Yes, Cindy, why don't you talk a little bit about that? She worked very hard on this. Yes, you did. A lot of emails going back and forth. Yeah, for the workers' comp. Right, safety.
We work with,
Nicole.
Anyway, we worked with them, and so we just need to approve it, so we can put it into the policies. So that'll be on the agenda next week, so if you can look at it and.
Sure.
Don't see any problem.
Thank you, Cindy. And then there was, there's information that came up, somebody wanted to talk about light glare on properties, and then
Peter had
mentioned
in relation to what we found out and
Yes,
making adjustments to the noise ordinance. Also came up in the
other
discussion.
municipalities have a light glare law that they passed. Irvington had specific light glare nuisance laws to be added for noise and dust and things. And I had presented that to,
The whole board has it now.
everybody has it.
Yeah.
Basically, the Irvington law was pretty specific and broke it down in great detail. And the board wishes to review that, adopt that as part of the policy. as far as light glare, it's a nuisance. You know, exceeding the property line, affecting neighbors, sleeping habits, things of that nature. That's pretty much what it pertains to, which also goes hand in hand with the noise ordinance law that we were discussing prior. And the penalties are also listed in here as by, the violations at the bottom of the list if you have the printout of the list. They also added it into their accessory, like home businesses and accessory structures. They added it into everything under zoning, and so it was in 2 areas. So just something to review if the board wishes to add that to our code, along with other nuisance such as noise, dust, time frame of events, things like that.
So,
I think it's definitely something to consider. I don't know what everybody else feels, but I think it's something that, we should consider.
so do we want to put that on the agenda for a public hearing? For the public hearing, because we're changing, we're
Yeah.
adding on to the code, we're putting it into the code.
Who's drafting it?
I think we have to review it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got it.
I think we have to have a discussion. on
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right?
Continue to the next workshop?
Yeah,
You wanna
we'll do the
continue?
next workshop,
yeah.
but what else I was saying, if the board was good to go with this, because we've had this to read.
Then you'd
So
have to
we're not
schedule a
ready.
public hearing if you're ready to
Okay,
go, right?
that's, okay, that was.
Yeah.
So leave it for next workshop to continue the discussion.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, so for
Can I just
Buchanan-
ask a quick question
Yes.
before we go on with that? Because I'm not really dealing with this one. You found one, maybe we can talk. I mean, is there a way, the glare, because I also found a couple and it's lumens this and shielding, and who's gonna enforce this? That would
Right,
be you
that's,
too?
that's my
Or-
biggest question.
I mean, you know,
Sure.
before we start getting into.
Well, you have to have a
public
lumen reader.
I know.
Cops would have to have that at their disposal.
Right.
It's the only way to do it.
Yeah, but I just want that to be
Peter's
known
not
so
gonna
that
be
we're
in
not
the
just
window.
writing one, putting it out there.
It's a time frame issue. These things happen after hours, and I would not be here.
Right, so it would be the
11 o'clock at
police.
night.
Mhm.
Secondly, but that's where we go.
What was thinking.
Well, I just wanted sort of
No, I
just
understand.
to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
'Cause it seems like more of an enforcement issue once it, and then we have to have the correct, like, you know, the decibels for noises that
Yes,
we didn't
it's very
choose to do
similar.
this kind of.
Yeah. All
I know, I've
details.
seen some of them and it's like, who do they have doing this at midnight?
It's
We call Peter.
basically,
that's all.
the bottom line and the whole purpose of the code in general is excessive light exceeding the property line of one neighbor's property to another, or commercial, or it should not go past property line. That's pretty much the overview of all.
And I get that, but you know, it makes me think that, like, so what do you say when you make this law? What do you say to people who have already got it? Change all your bulbs, change all your shield, or go around the whole village
Well,
and,
we had one specific
Yes.
issue that I received complaints about, and I contacted the owners of that property, and they
willingly?
put canopies on the light to deflect it down, so it wasn't going across to the other neighbor's property. And they did do that.
That was very nice of them.
And again, it wasn't a loss. We discussed it, and I said, things were coming to light with the board about these type of things, and you will be affected by this, and there will be fines.
Yeah.
So they addressed it immediately. So at least that one item was addressed for the one complaint I received at that
Mhm.
time.
And maybe the way to deal with it is to give some time to sort of,
Yeah.
before we're out the next day, you know,
And
violating
again,
people.
a warning is usually how I would like to start things as normally, but again, you've got one warning, you have a second, now you're done. Try to be as lenient as we can.
Yeah.
But repeat offenders.
It's about it's about confirming, right? Getting people to
Just
conform,
comply.
right,
Just
to comply and conform, and just do the neighborly thing. It's a quality of life issue as far as I'm concerned.
So what happens, this includes the driveway lights, like when people pull in their driveway and the light clicks on for safety, security?
It all depends on it. Again, now where's that light going to? It's aimed at the driveway, heading at the road, not to your neighbor's window.
Okay.
It's more property line issue. Front line to street is a different
So
scenario.
we would have to supply the police with the angles, the light readers. I mean,
Let's just have a
who,
discussion, that's all.
It's,
The light.
I mean, where does it end?
Discussion about it.
Anyway,
So we will come back at the workshop and review that again. Bring your questions.
Yep.
So acceptance of donations for Buchanan Day. This year, we did very well. Each year, Entergy for almost 10 years now, Holtec has given us $5,000. Certainty this year gave us $5,000. Certainty is deciding to become more involved in the community. They were there. They also set a table there. And also we had ClearPath, the company that, you know, has the transmission line from Delhi down to Queens. And, so they were very generous also. They gave us $5,000. And also I want to mention our planner, Dave, isn't here right now, but he did donate, it was $250, Cindy. So that was very generous of him too.
Right.
So what, are we going to have a policy on acceptance of the donations, Marcus?
Yeah, any money donated to the village will be accepted by the village board by a motion or resolution, just so the public knows who donated and transparent, and it is public information to let the public know who's donating the money, absolutely.
And to be used for a specific.
Especially, yeah, especially if they identify how the money to be used, that will be also part of the motion, exactly.
Okay. And I know every year we used to announce the donations that we got. It was mostly Entergy that would donate. So this year it's different. Let's see, discussion of the deputy treasurer.
So I'll start, and then Stephanie, if the Lord can discuss it. We discussed creating the deputy treasurer's position, and the county, so everything has to be reported to the county. Any position in municipality reported to the county. The county said, well, you don't have a deputy treasurer position under their records. And since it's a public official, they will have the village board to adopt a local law or resolution creating the deputy position. So therefore they can put on the record to the board, authorize the creation of this position. So the discussion is, do you want to do a resolution and creating the position, or do you want to do a local law? My own personal opinion is by resolution. If future boards want to eliminate that position, you can do it by resolution, eliminate it. If you do a local law, then you got to have a public hearing and eliminate the position. The county doesn't care either way. It's what preference, what the board would like to do. And with Stephanie, as a lawyer, what she prefers doing, and the board can have that discussion. So just want to put that out
Other
there.
positions in the office, does the county have listed?
What, the clerk treasurer, deputy clerk, administrator, and that's the only, Peter is a public official, the building inspector is a public official. So, I think those are the only public official titles that are required to be identified and also reported to the county, which also reports to the state.
So part-time positions are not
No.
required?
They're not required for you guys to adopt a formal resolution or local law to do that. All the other positions at your leisure. So it's at your preference.
What is your recommendation?
It'd be easier to just do a resolution, right?
Mhm.
My thought was, you have the position of administrator in your code, right? You haven't done the treasurer. I don't know why. In my opinion, once you put it in there, future boards, a year, 3 years, 6 years from now, you're not searching for a resolution to reestablish the position. What were the duties of the position? But it's totally up to you. Like, I like going to codes. If you look at other codes, you look it up and you say deputy treasurer, deputy, these are the positions.
Mhm.
According to Marcus, the county doesn't care.
Right.
So you can do a resolution.
And the county will record that in their records to show that title has been created. So it depends, you want to call for a public hearing and do it, or just do a resolution, we can do either one for the next meeting.
So none of the positions are in the code.
Just the administrator.
Just the administrator. You don't have clerk treasurer, you don't have treasurer, you don't have any of those positions.
Your suggestion would be to put all the positions?
I would think the
into
treasurer
code?
should be in there. I mean, we're not, because it's in the state law, that might be the reason why, like, a village has to have a treasurer.
Right, that's correct.
You know, so her job is kind of laid out within the state law.
Mhm.
I don't think you have to have a clerk or a deputy clerk.
No, you have to have a clerk and a treasurer, we have a
But not a
combined.
deputy.
No, you don't have to have deputies.
And so we don't technically have to have a deputy treasurer.
That's correct,
Correct.
that's correct.
Right.
So in the resolution. Right.
Okay.
Make it a little easier.
It makes it easier for me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So this will be a full-time position.
Correct.
So then we'll have 3 full-time people in the office, and we will have a part-time. I'm trying to remember the last time we had three full-timers in the office.
I'll be ready in time.
That's right,
Yeah,
yeah.
2009.
And then I guess we have to discuss salary and,
But this was all discussed.
Yeah, we discussed all this.
yeah, I know, but I don't know if the public.
We
heard.
discussed at a public meeting during the, during the
I'm
budget,
just,
during the
I'm
budget.
just saying it again for the public, because we're going to have another full-time person in the office.
Well, is that, just to let the public know, is if everybody interested, is on Facebook, an email blast has been sent out, so
For some
anybody.
reason, nobody sees this stuff on Facebook. I just, you know, a lot of people don't see that, so.
It's
okay.
it's on our website,
Okay.
Facebook and email blast. Again,
Just
everybody,
saying.
people should sign up for email blast as well. You don't like Facebook, you get an email blast, so please sign up for the email blast as well. To get the information out beyond the village.
So the last thing on our list is a discussion of ice skating rink. So I'm going to leave that open to the board. I know there was some thoughts on our rink about selling it and possibly using the money for something else. So what would the board like to discuss on that?
Do we have a list of participants from last year? I mean, we took, I mean, what was,
We do have attendance records, I believe.
Yeah, we do. We've seen them for.
yeah,
The
we've
last
seen them
2
all
years.
before. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, yeah, it seemed like a good idea. It just doesn't seem to work in this area. I know it's a lot of work for Scott and his guys to put it together, take it down, to store it. I know storage has been a problem, right, Scott? For the rink?
Well, actually, after they got the,
Come to the mic.
after they got those big.
Oh, the containers, right,
from
yeah.
Buchanan, they had a place to store it. So that really hasn't been the issue, but.
All right, I mean, I don't know which way to go with this. I'd like to hear other members of the board.
You know, initially, I thought it was a great idea, something to try, for the kids in the community. I don't think the turnout has been as what we expected. There are other alternatives for the kids in the area. We've had problems, you know, trying to staff it over the years, and I think it may be best if we, look to try to sell it, recoup some of the costs, and maybe go a different route.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think it was a great idea, just, you know, plus we have nobody running our recreation at this point either, so that's another issue. You know, we've got an open position for recreation. Who's gonna do the hiring of part-timers for this?
The board.
I mean,
But that's okay. So the direction of the board is to sell the skating rink? Is that what I'm?
what-
Bob?
I didn't say anything.
I didn't.
Clear my throat. I do agree. I mean, I think the thought was a great idea to give this a chance. But based on the amount of participation we've had compared to what we've had to pay out the attendance to be there, I don't think it's really working out as the plan. I think that we have to just move forward with trying to sell it and, you know, write it up as an attempt. We try to do something for the community that they didn't seem to be too involved or too interested in.
So what's the direction for Marcus? All right, if the
I
board.
mean,
wants-
what is the options do we have? Like, or
We know it's working.
I mean, I don't even know if it's worth trying to get rid of. I don't know. I mean, if you look into it, then we can make a decision.
Yeah, what I can do, I can send an email blast out to all the managers in the county, saying everybody's interested in that. That's also what we bought, sold surplus equipment. We can put an ad out there too, see what kind of interest we get. You can always reject the bids and not sell it at all. So, and that way you get some bids together and you can decide. I can do that first thing tomorrow, put it out there and see what.
Well,
kind of
it's worth
response we
looking into before we make a decision.
get. So, okay, so I'll get the word out, see if there's any interest in it.
Scott, how long does it take to put everything together on a regular basis? Is it a day, is it 2 days of labor?
I think a day. I think after the first year, it took longer because we didn't really know what they were doing. And then the second year, it was, I'm not sure how many years they've had it now, but after the first year, it got easier just because they had an idea how to do it and they've done it before.
So it's a little faster, but I believe it took, maybe, it might have took a day and a half.
Okay.
But,
You break any hammers this time?
I'm sorry.
Did they break any of the rubber hammers?
No, no.
That's your breakers.
So I think we'll start with finding out what the value of it is and what we can get for it.
Absolutely, okay.
And, you know, and, I mean, if it doesn't take all that long to install it, if we decide to go that route, but, I think we should do our due diligence and find out, you know, what the value is, who's interested in it, if anybody.
Yep, we'll see if there's any interest, absolutely. Okay.
So comments from the floor. I know it was a long meeting tonight. There was a lot of discussion.
Eileen?
Eileen is there. Eileen?
Everybody looks at you?
No, no.
I knew that was gonna happen.
You gotta give her a standing ovation next time.
He's got notes, of course.
Oh, she got notes. Yeah, she go. You know what? I don't know if anything got whole. Oh, the notepad is empty.
Okay, the other day in the rain, Scott came over. I don't know who else was with him. I wasn't sure if anything was or not ever, whatever. And then he called me. Peter called me first, found out a piece of information before they could determine how, when, where my septic was in regards to this masonry work and tree removal and whatever else has to be done to keep that brook running well. And the brook would certainly continue to run well after all the rain that we had, but it wasn't torrential. It was just consistent, not like a hurricane rain. So that wasn't too bad. So I want to thank Scott.
I wasn't there, so I did speak to him about it in the office the other day, but I wasn't there. That was all Scott.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I spoke to him in the elevator, so that was the other thing. But I do appreciate it. Hopefully that will take care of that masonry work. I just have a question going back to the boiler. Not that it makes any difference, but just out of curiosity, if our government continues on this green energy, will gas be a possibility? Because you've got oil below gas, and then you've got renewables, and you've got, whatever. How long will that take before the boiler will be told that you have to go to electric? I mean, I'm only asking.
No, I was thinking of that too, and I can't find boilers, but I was thinking, what are we all gonna run out the year before and buy our gas stoves and our gas everything, right?
Before it ends, yeah.
Before it ends.
Mhm.
What they seem to be saying is if you've got one in place.
Yes.
You can use it for as long until it goes, and then you're not replacing it with it.
You
You're not
can't
gonna
buy a
go
new
into
one.
everybody's
Right, so
homes
the
and take
next
out.
one, whatever year goes out, you'll have to get
Electric.
whatever the new.
Yeah.
We'll have to be electric.
Little
Okay, so as long
windmill,
as you get it in before,
Correct.
say 2025.
yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we have electric
All the rest of
You're right.
And so, new apartments, they're gonna be electric. So is the heat going to be gas? Will they be able to get gas in, heat into the apartment?
No, everything's electric.
Electric.
Everything electric heat.
Everything's electric.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it I think that's.
God bless the people that can pay.
Yeah. Rates are going up
Now that's gonna be happy.
constantly.
Where's it coming from?
The windmills out on Long Island Sound.
The windmill solar panels.
About
Yeah, good.
Mhm.
So much for ideas on renewable, but we'll see how that all turns out in the end, so. Board members, anything discussed this evening?
I would like to put in motion something to rectify the overnight parking law that's in place. And I know I've spoke about this many times. But I like to research it and really look into it. I mean, last year we had a mild winter. And it's really a hassle for a lot of people in the community to find places to park. And I really think we need to look into this and investigate a way that we can help the community members out with parking. It really is a problem. I mean, even if we just stop the parking on our main snow evacuation routes and allow them to park on some side streets. It would accommodate in a tremendous way, I believe. So I'd like to look into that a little bit farther.
Like I said, in Peekskill, during winter, I think a certain time frame during winter is alternate side of the street parking and there's signs in all the blocks. So if that's an option.
Well, I think we
talked
come up
to
with something.
the chief and DPW and maybe come back from the next workshop and or maybe next week. I don't know if we can get together and talk and see what the
Our
possibilities are.
system now is antiquated. It's time to move on.
We talked about using, code red, I think was discussed at one point, but.
But the problem is most people don't pay attention.
Well, they will if their targets.
Targets, don't let down the street.
To just automatically say November 1st, you have to be off the, I mean, we don't see snow sometimes some years until, February.
Right.
And it
So,
doesn't
worth
help
the
during the
discussion.
day for snow removal. It's till 7 a.m. And the cars are, I mean, if you were out to send a robocall out and you gave them a time frame from noon till noon tomorrow, yeah, they'd have to comply with it. You know what I mean? They have to comply with it, but it would take some time for them to comply with it. We'd have to have, a fine set up for that reason, but then they would be off the road for the day and night. So snow cleaning would be done, full speed all day and night, not going around cars during the day. And, I think it would help our DPW and help the community and make it a lot easier for everybody.
Chief, what's the ticket now for like overnight parking for when snow removal time? Just to get an idea. And
What ticket?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. And what's your compliance regarding any issues with?
the price is 25 for the overnight snow. Whatever the board wishes. I mean, as a police officer, I like the roads cleared all the time. It's an element that you take away from criminals that want to get in cars and stuff. So I like them off the road, but that's never good to snow. It's just a preference for us, for our visuals and stuff like that. But it's whatever the board wants, we move the roads.
All right, I just want to look into it. I want to come up with a plan that works
Thank
for
you.
everybody.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it and.
Yeah.
I did have one thing I wanted to bring up. I know we discussed the possibility of reaching out to Governor Hochul's office in relation to the cessation fund to find out how that's going to go moving forward. In that the decommissioning is kind of,
Not looking good.
thrown into it.
It's not looking good over there. That's all I can say there. The cessation fund ends in
It's 3 or 4 years. I think
Yeah.
it's 3 or 4 years or something, and 4 years maybe.
So when you say that, Dan, what are you saying? You're saying that we should petition the governor? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, ask them what's the intent,
What's holding you back from petitioning the governor?
Me?
Yeah, who petitions the governor?
The board.
Okay, so what's holding us back from doing it?
Nothing.
So when you said that multiple times, Dan, but I've never heard an answer why we're being held back from doing it.
Just throwing it out there.
And is it something that we would go to one of the state senators first and then, I mean, what would be the best avenue?
Nobody has to be in agreement with me. I just think.
So if we want to
we should
petition,
put
so we would send it to you, Marcus, and you would handle it? Who would handle it for us if we wanted to do
We
it?
can handle it any way you want. The board can contact Harkin's office directly as a board.
But is it a good idea? The timing seems to be like we're running a little behind schedule. If we know it's gonna run out, we should have been already petitioning them, correct? I mean, I don't know, you tell me. I mean, you were involved in all the negotiations.
It takes a long time for the state to react. So yeah, if you want to do something, the board should contact Harkin's office, or you can direct me to contact Harkin's office. It's a board's pleasure, however you want to handle it.
Well, I just brought it up once before.
We can fund it.
Again.
Yeah.
Will they fund it?
my opinion is I think it's a little premature. There's a lot of, I would say, there's a lot of balls in motion, a lot of balls in the air. We're waiting to see what Holtec is going to do by the end of the year. I believe, things are going to change there. The state, I don't know, you kind of, I understand what you're saying, but we're not showing right now any type of a loss with, even if they stop decommissioning over there, we're not showing any type of loss at this time until if litigation happens and all that stuff. The fund is funded, the cessation fund is funded through the state. They would have to agree to put more money into that fund. Not sure. I knew we were funded till the end of our term. I'm not, I guess you could ask the state, you could ask, Harkham and Leavenworth about it. It gets reduced, yeah. But there was X amount of dollars in the fund that not only included us, it included other plants that would be closing down, not necessarily nuclear, could be other forms of generation of electricity. So that would have to be refunded, put back into that fund.
Yep.
And you could ask ahead of time, but I don't know if they would entertain it, but you could ask. Doesn't cost you. Doesn't cost you anything to ask. No, with the litigate, I'm not contradicting myself. I'm giving you a little history. You want, I don't know. Everything I say is always an
You said
argument.
we're a
Everybody
little
wants to fight with me.
premature, but then we should
Yes,
do it if we
I'm
want.
saying it's a little premature to see where Holtec is with what they're doing. But we're several years out yet before the cessation fund ends. I'm not sure if they'd be interested, the state would be interested. I did speak to Senator Harkham at Buchanan Day and told him that, I'm not sure where we're gonna be in this whole puzzle with Holtec now that this legislation was passed. I don't know. We're just in limbo right now with a couple of things, but if that's what the board would like to do to petition, I would start with Senator Harkham and Assemblywoman Dana Levenberg first and see what their thoughts are on funding the village some more money. That's where I would start. The last time that we had the petition, though, we were fortunate to have the town in with us, and the school district was very big when we did a petition. This time it would be the village of Buchanan.
Well,
Town of Portland would be.
I think we could reach
I
out.
mean,
to
they
the
don't make
schools.
as much, but they can certainly help petition for them to be refunded or
And I think
funded
the
to hire.
school too.
The school isn't gonna, the school is gonna be taken care of by the state because they were considered a poor community now. When Holtec Entergy was here, they got a lot of money from Holtec, but now over the changeover and stuff, they're getting more subsidies from the state as it is with the school district. So I'm not sure who would come in with us, but we could try, because that's where we got our biggest bang for our buck, is everybody working together.
Well, the frustration is comes from us not knowing what lies in front of us for the future, okay?
Yep.
But yet
I get
they
that.
go and they pull the trigger on a piece of legislation, okay, that changes everything,
Absolutely.
okay? So, what good is the agreement, right? If they can just discard it and just do what they want.
It might be
So-
able to be discarded, but it might go to litigation, and then they might have to, maybe somebody will hold their feet to the fire, including Riverkeeper.
Yeah, so maybe that's us. I don't know. It's just a thought.
So who would like to draft the letter to Senator Harkin and Dana Levenberg?
Well, who drafted it last time?
I was part of it.
Oh, but you don't want to do it this time, right?
I'm
Okay,
Anthony.
because
Why do
it's-
you always want to?
You just asked who would want to do it.
Well, I
That's
just
all.
want to
I don't
know
want to bite.
because
Why didn't you say I will do it? And you'll do it.
I could do it. I
But
definitely.
why didn't
could
you
do
say
it.
that?
But then I don't want to be accused of non-transparency.
Then just
So-
tell us what the letter says and don't keep it from us like you keep everything else from us.
Oh, yes, I keep I don't even, this board just wants to fight with me. You don't want to work
We
with
just
me.
want what
And it's-
we all want to work
that's fine.
together, but you
Well, I
don't
would
tell us
love that,
anything.
but you constantly fight with me. But here's the other thing. I didn't know half of the stuff that goes on with the AMS development. I don't know anything that went on with the battery storage. So let's.
How do you not know what went on with
let's
AMS? You were at every meeting I was at.
No, there were calls that were made from trustees directly.
And I
to the
directly told
developer.
you exactly
So,
what
you
happened
know
at that
what?
call.
Let's not have a
You are
let's not have a transparency discussion.
Let's do
with
it.
me,
Let's do it.
Because you
Let's
know
do
what?
it. Let's do
That's
it.
ridiculous.
Let's do it.
You know what? I say white, you guys say black. Nobody wants to work with me. Okay.
Because you
that's
don't tell
fine.
us anything.
I do so. I bring stuff up to the board. Let's stop. Please.
I can't stop. It's the
No,
facts.
you just wanted
I'm
to-
only here to help the community. You're here
No.
for the
I was-
mayor.
Well, I'm here for the.
No, you're
Oh,
not.
really?
Really?
I'm fourth generation. Don't you ever say that to me again. Don't you ever tell me that I'm not here for the community. That makes me angry.
Well, I don't see it.
I have busted my butt since the closure of Indian Point, and now you tell me I'm not here for the community, the hours I put in? Damn it, I'm mad. How dare you say that? I want an apology right now.
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. So I'm
Absolutely
here
not.
just to be the mayor, but everybody else is here for the community. I have worked hard here, and that's the thanks I get. Holy cow.
I'd like an apology.
No,
for you
keep
yelling at me.
insulting me. Keep insulting
It wasn't
me.
an insult.
I am
For the mayor.
upset
You want to be
that
the mayor? You're
you
mayor.
accused me of not being here for the community. Who do you think does Buchanan Day? For 10 years now, I've done
You do
that.
everything. You do everything.
I wish I had help.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I
Nobody
just,
here does anything.
here we go again. I'm trying to do a meeting and everyone just wants to fight with me. I mean, really.
You.
Yeah, see, there we go. I don't know. I would like to work as a team, but nobody wants to work with me. Nobody talks to me. So it is what it is.
You're being
So I will still continue to do what I think is right for the village. And if people disagree, then they disagree. That was a total slap in my face.
Don't yell at me again, first of all.
No, first of all,
Don't yell
don't
at me again.
accuse me of just being here for the mayor. Don't accuse me that I'm not concerned for this village. That was a huge insult to me. Huge. After everything that's going on all these years. Do you think that closure of Indian Point was easy to deal with that? You guys weren't here. You have no idea what we went through. Just come here to fight with me. That's all it is. That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the village. So I guess is that it with everybody, or does somebody else want to fight with me today? That really angered me. I'm sorry. I am sorry. That really was a deep cut
All
to
right,
me.
get over it.
I'm going to have to.
Let's move on with the meeting.
I think we're done, aren't we? Do we have to go into executive session?
You got
I think Eileen has a part.
Eileen, yes, yes, ma'am.
The chief made me think of something, but Andy did also. The school might be interested because they are going to be in a shift. Come December, they're going to decide what they're going to do, go to plan B, stay with plan A. I also had a presenter that came in and it came out that the district really needs to look at what their purpose is, and the purpose, according to this gentleman who spoke, was to educate their students, to educate the kids. So all the rest of the fluff that goes along with that, they're going to be looking, I think Dr. Lorio may stay on a little bit longer so that he can help assist in this whole thing as the new superintendent comes in. So I would say, I would elicit whatever you can because they may need funds, because it's all about more money, more money, more money.
Yeah, I think if you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Yeah, well,
So,
I'm just saying from what I understand and what I've heard. The second thing is that I wanted to ask the chief. I called up one day when they had a fundraiser across the street from where I live, a little bit down, and the cars were parked on both sides. Officer Ray said nobody complained about the noise, so it was the parking. So we did get the one house that's up where Van Tassel's used to live, the house right after Lake Street. Everybody's parking on, I don't know, is that the west side of the street? I don't know, but it's on the side of the entrance to Lake Street. So my question is anybody planning a parking for large gatherings, occupying both sides of the street? Because you can't get two cars by if you've got both sides being occupied.
I would agree with you.
Okay.
That day was a perfect storm because they had two events going on.
Well, we had a
One at the
garage
Van
sale.
Tassel house, all right,
Oh,
that used to
right,
be,
that was later in the afternoon.
and then the other house that's kind of directly across from your driveway.
Right, but there's a
So-
garage sale also, which makes the cars stop.
Yep.
Too, so I don't know what the answer to that is.
That was the guy.
Chief is getting up. Chief is getting up.
Because it was dangerous. You couldn't even walk.
Yes, so that area, I mean, yeah, it does get tight, but we never had any issues before. I mean, we do, you know, if a car does park there, though, it can be one car. And then it gets tight, if two cars are parked generally in the same area. So it could be one car and one car, right? It could create a problem. We have discussed in the past, I think, it was maybe 2018 or so. I think, Chief Phil Hansen is here, about no parking signs in that area. Maybe on one side or something. So we have discussed it. I don't know where I went from there, but, I do see the problem. But it isn't a constant problem, but.
Right, it's an isolated.
It's an isolated storm, but it only takes two cars. to
Yeah,
create
there's a lot of
hazard.
small side streets in the village
Right, I
that
mean,
happens.
if
You go on
if
Catholic
look
Street
on,
any time of the day.
You look at Lindsay, parking on that road, it really is one lane after that, all day long, every day, so. It's a really tight road, so. I don't like the bend there, and, you know, that would create, you know, some new hazard, and we did, you know, kind of come up with some ideas, but. I don't know really went from there, it's, I think, kind of, just, you know, trying to figure a couple things out. So I'll we look into it, and, you know. Yeah, no, it's been on our radar for, I have to bring it up, look into it, all right?
Oh, thanks, Chief. All right, I do want to apologize to the public for me losing my temper, but I will not be accused of being here for political reasons. My heart and soul is in this village, and to the day I die, it will be. So I have fought hard for this village, and I will continue to fight for it. This is my home. Bob, do you have anything before we go into executive session?
No, I don't.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for the discussion of village property on Route 9A and Blakely Avenue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.